Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We will begin our meeting this evening with a few workshop items. Our first workshop item is Silver Pine Drive, map 91, lot 9. This is a sketch plan review for a proposed 9-lot residential subdivision. Charles, anything to add on this before we begin? No. All right, we have the applicant with us this evening, and why don't you go ahead?
Tim Mishu, Teardown Consultants, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, presenting tonight the sketch plan application for a Silver Pine subdivision located off Jenkins Road in the city of Saco. The sketch plan for the Silver Pine subdivision proposes a 9-lot residential subdivision to be located off the existing Silver Pine Drive. The properties are located in the city of Saco, tax map 91 as lots 9 and tax map 90 as lot 20 and lot 21. The existing conditions for the site. The project site is approximately 17 acres. 10 acres contain the Silver Pine condominium plat dated June 20, 2023. And approximately 7.4 acres of the remaining parcel is land owned by the applicant. The applicant currently he owns the Silver Pine plat, and he owns lots 20 and 21 out behind on tax map 90 that abut up against the main turnpike and cut across the back of the main turnpike property and connect over to Remick Drive. But that's another discussion. But the applicant owns a large quantity of connected parcels out back. And the Silver Pine subdivision currently has a 20-foot paved drive, and it's 375 feet in length, and there are 2 condominium lots on that parcel right now, and they're served by individual subsurface wastewater, private wells, and overhead electric and communications from Jenkins Road. The project site is not located in a mapped sand and gravel aquifer or in a flood hazard area. The parcel is located within the Cascade Brook and Millbrook watersheds, and there is a DEP regulated intermittent stream that traverses the parcel. Wetlands on the project site were delineated by Albert Frick on behalf of the previous owner in 2024, and the applicant had Copia Environmental LLC do wetland delineation on the abutting properties in October of 2023. There are approximately 5 acres of forested wetland delineated on the proposed Silver Pine subdivision parcel. The Silver Pine subdivision does not contain any vernal pools. In the proposed conditions, this almost 17-acre Silver Pine subdivision will include the 2 existing condominium lots and 7 proposed lots for a total of 9 lots. 6 proposed lots will be served by private wells, individual subsurface septic systems, and underground utilities provided from overhead and utilities found along Jenkins Road. 1 lot will be retained by the owner and will not be developed. Silver Pine Drive is proposed to be improved to public street standards in the city of Saco. So the roadway will be 24-foot wide paved with curbing, 5-foot wide sidewalk on one side with connection to an existing sidewalk found along Jenkins Road. Site distances have been measured, and they are in accordance with the Saco technical design standards. The road and infrastructure will be offered to the city for acceptance. Project will require a waiver from Ordinance Section 188-710 for a dead-end city street to be longer than 1,000 feet. And this is to, if you're looking at the site plan, you can see that we're crossing over a wetland area in that DEP regulated stream that bisects the site. So the waiver is requested to be longer than 1,000 feet so we can access upland areas, developable areas of the project. Zoning and lot coverage. The project is in the Saco West Residential District. The sketch plan includes minimum 30,000 square foot lots not served by public sewer. The anticipated lot coverage will be less than 25%. Maximum allowed for zoning is 25, will be less. Net residential calculations. The only unsuitable lands on the project site were wetlands, and the stream area is included in that wetlands. So we come out to the net residential area is almost 12 acres. There are 16 lots allowed. 7 are proposed, 2 are existing, so it's a total of 9 lots. And in the city of Saco, dead-end streets can be provided with no more than 15 dwelling units. The total number of units proposed on the public dead-end Silver Pine Drive will include 4 existing units, because there are 2 townhomes, so it's 4 existing units and 11 proposed units for a total of 15 units. Open space for the project, requirements are for 7.5% of the project site. The proposed open space comprises almost 8 acres, or 46.5% of the project site, with the required open space per the ordinance at 1.27 acres. So quite a bit more is being set aside. And lastly, since this is sketch plan, we'll talk about the technical capacity of the applicant. Teradyne Consultants is representing the applicant with the civil site and permitting for the project. And we also do boundary and topographical survey. Landscaping will be by Barry Hosmer. Wetlands are by Albert Frick and Copy Environmental. And preliminary subsurface investigation, hydrogeologic studies, stormwater and soil investigations will be by Mark Sensei, geologist. Proposed permitting for the project, as we've laid it out so far. We major subdivision approval from City Planning Board, Maine DEP stormwater law, a NRPA Tier 1 wetland alteration permit for creating greater than 1/10 of an acre of wetland alterations, and grading greater than 1/10, but also less than 15,000 square feet. Army Corps will also be reviewing these wetland alterations, and we will also be submitting an DEP NRPA stream crossing permit where the culvert crosses over the unnamed admitted stream, and a GP construction general permit. And lastly, for discussion, go back to the waiver that was requested in our submission package for road length longer than 1,000 feet. And having said that, we did provide a concept plan with color so that everyone can clearly see the areas that we are proposing. I know that one of the review comments from the city engineer was to identify the unsuitable areas, and we will be updating our mapping and with a preliminary plan application so that can be provided, but essentially it's the wetlands. So it's on the areas, as you can see, that are in the brown. And then we have identified the open space, and we have essentially the stormwater management for the project. Since we are not in an urban impaired stream situation, we will be providing the curbing on the road to city standards, and we'll be providing stormwater management areas within their own lots that will be offered to the city for acceptance on each side of the stream. And other than that, I think that's the most major items for the sketch plan process. So with that, open this up to questions.
Great, thank you, Tim. The area, I'm glad the graphic is up here real quick.
Yep.
So the area to the plan right,
Yep.
the area that's around, it looks like there's some wetland notes in there, but it's not colored. Is that a separate ownership, separate property ownership in that area?
Yes, up by the, I should have been clear.
Yeah, where that hand is.
So the applicant owns Silver Pine, but he also owns Lot 20 and Lot 21. Lot 21 abuts the turnpike. We didn't provide the view to a scale that shows the turnpike, but there's parcels out behind there that are owned by the applicant. So we're proposing with this project to do a land swap. So there will be, I think I stated, there will be almost 7.5 acres that will be added into the Silver Pine subdivision that will be removed from lots 20 and 21 on map 90.
Okay, so that's,
Again, owned by the applicant.
okay, so different property, same owner, to do a
Correct.
land swap.
Land
to-
swap.
To get that area.
Right.
And then,
With connectivity, so they remain attached along the turnpike. They're not broken. So they're not landlocked.
say that again, what's attached or not attached?
The remaining land is attached. It's not landlocked because it's connected along the turnpike.
Back to Jenkins Road?
Back to,
Okay,
yes, sir.
sure, okay. And then, real quickly, I couldn't find the note in there. How much longer is the road beyond the 1,000? What's the total road length?
Total is, so existing is 375, and proposed, it is
It's 1,255.
1255.
1,255.
So 255 feet beyond the ordinance maximum 1,000 linear feet of dead-end public road. But as stated and clearly shown by the concept plan, you can see how that additional 255 feet essentially crosses over the DEP-regulated stream so that we can access upland areas. And I also did not mention that we are providing the paper street for connectivity.
Sure.
To land owned by the applicant.
Excuse me. And then the stream crossing, is that, did you say it was a culvert that's going to be there? Or is-
Yeah, it's gonna be open bottom, concrete culvert, probably 5 feet in diameter.
Okay.
Army Corps culvert.
Okay.
But
It's not,
it's wide enough so we won't bury it by a foot like you see a lot where embedded. It'll probably be an open bottom arch.
sure, so it's not a large structure.
No,
Okay.
no, we're not looking to have the road too high because we're crossing these wetland areas. And actually, as you can, by the plan, you can see we're actually minimizing. There's a lot of wetland areas out there, and we are minimizing our disturbances quite well, actually.
Sure. So then is lot one, I guess in this plan, is that lot one
Retained by owner,
and then not developed, or is it?
just not developed because we're maxing out the units
Okay,
because there are 2 existing townhomes
sure.
in the existing plat.
So that one would be deed restricted then?
For later, it'll just be retained.
Okay. Okay,
It won't be allowed on the public dead-end road.
sure,
But if there's a connectivity someday,
sure. Okay. Any questions for board members for the applicant? Joyce?
The open space, is that going to be held and
of course.
controlled by a homeowners association? Are you planning on trying to donate it to a land trust or something?
It's protected resources, so yes, it would be of no real value to the subdivision for trails or things like that. It would want to be protected. So there's not a very good this is not a very good application for a trail system, something like that. So if their potential was there and there was connectivity on the other sides that they wanted to connect to, by all means.
So it's just going to be undeveloped open space
Open
held by
space
the
to remain.
homeowners association?
Yep. In perpetuity, not to be developed. And as the board is aware, we did get review comments from the Public Works Department. In general, the comments, I just wanted to speak to this. A lot of the comments have to do with design, and we haven't done the design yet. But we're aware of what the requirements are. But there were a few items. He was talking about wetlands associated with wetlands of special significance. There are no wetlands of special significance on the project because there are no vernal pools. And the stream is not associated with that. Wetland impacts will be handled by the regulatory agencies. Most other items have to do with public streets. There was the stormwater pond should be removed from the 75-foot setback, which we will do. And then there was some mislabeling a little bit on some of the lots. And then the subdivision plan should depict 75-foot NRPA and 100-foot inland fishes and wildlife setbacks. So on the plan, we actually did show the 75-foot, I believe. You can see those dash lines on either side of the stream.
Okay.
So those are depicted. And we clearly, back to the net residential, and the zoning, we adhered to those. There were no items that were of major issue for this project coming up to the net residential calcs for lot coverages, or there's the parcel is very flat, and it has and it slopes in both directions towards the stream, but those slopes are like 1.5% to 2%, very minor. So there are no flood zones, isolated areas, stream channels are included in the wetlands. There are no steep slopes. And then we provided the calc for the 15 units.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from board members? Jim?
Thank you. So I think one of the Public Works concerns, it was a minor one, but you have two lot number fours.
Yeah, well,
And so the lot number 4 that does not have buildings on it is like a big oval there. Is that intended to be like a stormwater detention pond?
yes, sir.
And as well on the other side of the stream, the other oval that performs the same function?
Yes, sir. So your stormwater management doesn't want to cross a wetland, or you don't want to have drainage piping, because those are the lower areas, so you want to be providing your BMPs prior to that. So those are just natural areas. Now, we did have the comment from the Public Works to adhere to the setbacks, and so we will do that, but again, at the moment, it was a sketch plan. And we haven't done the design yet, but those are where we're planning on doing our BMPs.
So does your client sort of like own the whole parcel and the 2 duplexes that are already there?
The parcels are individually owned.
I see, okay. I think we've been out there for a site walk and,
Oh, you would have been out there last year, or a year and a half ago.
right.
Those
and-
townhomes were just built.
Right, it was after they were built, and my memory was that there, a lot of the folks who lived out there were complaining about stormwater and sort of flooding in their lots and stuff.
Well, it's a pretty wet area.
Do you think the improvements that you're going to make to the roadway and the drainage is going to help that situation at all?
Yes, because we're going to be a closed drainage system with curbing to adhere to the public street standards. So the idea we will be grabbing stormwater from the frontage proximate to Jenkins Road and bringing it back, treating it pre-post, quantity control prior to discharging towards the stream.
That's great, thank you.
That's our plan anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and my understanding is it is a problem out there, so if this can fix the problem, that's great.
So the existing road that's there now has flooding problems?
That's my understanding. I mean, there were some neighbors who had lots of complaints
Yeah.
about with the wetlands and the flooding and so forth.
Because the existing road looks pretty nice, actually.
No, I think the road's fine, it's just how the drainage works,
Right.
and I think some people were concerned about their wells and so forth.
And I will note, as far as the NRP permitting for this project, the wetlands that were disturbed for the original condominium plat in 2023 were not permitted. We will be permitting those as part of this project. So they will be regulated. Because I think they probably didn't meet threshold requirements, so they probably just skirted right underneath the limits. But we will be picking up those wetlands.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Any other questions from board members? Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Tim, just to touch base, so the existing section of roadway is going to be reconstructed to meet city standards, because there was some concern, not so much with, I think, with the height out there, but the steepness of the ditching and the water flow. So that would all be brought up to the city standards
The
to be offered?
The pavement will be removed, and then the existing materials, we assume they're good A and D materials, but it's a 20 feet wide road now with probably, I don't even know if there's shoulders really. So it'll be improved to 24 feet wide with paved shoulders and curbing and the sidewalk on one side. Basically just public street standards.
Correct.
With lighting, central mailbox system,
So,
street trees.
yeah, because it seems to me it was pretty tight. We had concerns at the very end with,
The turnaround.
well, not so much the turnaround, but the stormwater and the property line and the steepness of the grade. So you would be adjusting any center lines that you need to accommodate the appropriate drainage.
Yes, the center line will need to be adjusted a little bit. It will be held for the most part because that's where the curb break is on Jenkins Road. And those wetlands have already been disturbed, so we will try and minimize our additional wetland impacts in that area.
Understandable. I think we were talking a little further down where it says Silver Pine 2, I think.
Yep,
That was kind of the end of the existing road, and that's where it might have been shifted slightly to the north. I
it
think,
is
to give-
shifted, yeah.
you
And
know.
we will be affixing that
Okay.
as part of our design.
So you'll be bringing from an existing pole, underground utilities as required by our ordinance
Correct.
subdivision, and you'll be adding city-approved street lighting.
Correct.
How are you getting those utilities across the brook? You said you're not building up much, you're using an arched culvert, you didn't want to have any impacts. How are you getting all those utilities across?
Well, it will be, so we're talking about electric, it's gonna be private well and individual subsurface septic, so there's no sewer.
Correct?
And there's no water, so we'll be talking electric. And we'll have to work through that process
Okay.
to get across there.
Okay, but the plan is to be in the upper section above the arch and under the
Yes.
roadbed?
Now, being that it's electric can be in the city right away, is my understanding, whereas opposed sewer can't.
I think that there's specifics in the technical design manual that will
Yep, we'll look
be able to
into
work
that.
through with that. I was a little confused, and I got a little off track because there was an upload error, I guess, on the site. And this unnamed stream, has it been confirmed that this is the unnamed stream? And there was another one that was referenced in DPW, said, no, that's part of the Cascade Brook watershed. So as we move forward, if we get clarification that DPW agrees that that's an unnamed stream and not part of our urban impaired.
It's not urban impaired. I don't believe Cascade is an urban impaired stream. But I don't live in this town, but I believe I checked it, it's not.
I believe it's one of our focal areas, but we could work through that.
This is basically a tributary to Cascade Brook.
Okay.
But it is, it does have a flow long enough, has flowed long enough during the season, the full year, that it is DEP regulated.
Okay.
But I checked Chapter 500 of the DEP manual, and I don't believe that Cascade Brook
Well, it's okay, you don't have
Yeah,
to.
yeah, exactly.
No,
You don't
it's
have to
just,
answer this second.
just something to discuss,
Sure,
to keep
just
on
to
our
triple
radar,
check.
because I think it's part of our review, if it's a tribute, part of that.
Yeah, we'll just triple check, yep.
The retained lot, you guys made that pretty clear, you're retaining for future use, even though we'll be at our 15 dwelling unit capacity. If the connectivity were to go through, it would be potential. So we're not deed restricting it, we're just keeping it vacant, correct?
Correct. Undeveloped.
I think this had a hydrogeological survey from a previous applicant. You guys have access to that?
We'll be doing our own,
Okay,
because whatever was done, we'll be expanding it.
correct, okay. Because with how wet it is out there, I just want to make sure that that limiting factor isn't, fall under our description of unbuildable land because of the high water table. At 48 inches is pretty tight
Yes.
in that area at all, never mind the 10 inches.
And it will be for subsurface as well. So, yeah, so we are talking about Cascade Brook and Millbrook watersheds, which is what this project is in.
So like Joyce, I had picked up on the open space. I guess it'd be kind of my preference that that be retained as an HOA. I don't really see the benefit for the city kind of taking
No,
on that
if there
burden.
was already a area outside of the boundaries of the property, it would be great to connect them. But if there aren't, then it would just remain with the HOA.
And the waiver, I have to say, this is a very rapid pattern in this area off Jenkins Road of all these dead ends, dead ends, dead ends. Particularly where this applicant has the ability to offer a much better plan. I would almost rather see it as a phased proposal saying what's going to happen on this next thing. I guess I'm not really comfortable waiving all the time because we're just creating this pattern of dead-end streets. And at the same time, I'd like to see what could happen on that upland, because we've walked a couple site plans with you in that area, and there is much more upland closer to the turnpike. But then what does that mean for buffering for existing homes? We start developing that to a capacity, and how much thinning are we doing? So I'm not...
So behind, if I may, behind the cul-de-sac and behind where the proposed lots are, that you can see on the fringes, it's not in color, but it's wet back there. So we requested the waiver to extend the road to get up into that pocket of the developable area. And then from behind those lots out towards the turnpike, it's generally wet. It's wetlands. So the waiver is requested just to get across the brook and to get up into an area of developable land, but the 50-foot wide paper street right-of-way is located where it is for a reason, because there has been vernal pool investigations along the turnpike over to Remick Drive, and so that is where the connectivity would be. Where
So-
it makes the most
And,
sense.
and Tim, the paper street you're referring to is, it comes off, it's in between open space 3 and lot 7.
Yes, sir.
That's that paper street that you're talking about.
Yes, sir. We'll do a better job of defining it and where it ends. The problem, we didn't end it because it's owned by the applicant right now. But we have to, for the prelim, we'll do a better job of.
Sure, and then where that paper street is, that right of way, from there back, it looks like that point is less than 1,000 feet.
For the paper street?
Yeah, so where it comes off of Silver Pine.
Yes.
From that location to Jenkins Road, that distance, roughly.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be intended to be a dead-end street.
No, I understand, but to Jeff's point, and I guess the conversation of a dead-end street is that this, as your waiver now
I
for an
understand.
additional 255 feet, if
understand.
that paper street comes together, that's under 1,000 feet. It's not beyond that 1,000 feet point, just,
Right, the measurement is to the center of the cul-de-sac.
sure, just for discussion.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
So as you can see by the concept plan, the lots are buildable, they're upland areas. We are minimizing environmental impacts for this project. It sounds like we might even be able to provide some improvements to existing conditions within the area with an improved road. And we have tried to set aside as much of the sensitive areas in the city of Saco as we could to be preserved.
Sure. Jeff, any other thoughts?
No, I had, like I said, I would need a lot of convincing of what could happen as to why we should have another dead-end street over 1,000 feet. So, and then the HOA or maintaining their open space, the wetland space, rather than being offered to the city. But other than that, I think those are the topics I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts from board members? Additionally, on my list, you mentioned sidewalks, obviously,
Central mailbox, street plantings.
yep, landscaping,
underground
lighting,
utilities,
buffers we'll be looking for, snow storage.
under drain system.
I'm a little bit on the same page as Jeff. I have similar thoughts and concerns. I do appreciate and I do support a little bit if done well, and I think this is a good start for a little bit longer road length for less wetland impact. That we retain more wetland, more natural vegetation, but at the same time, I do have overall concern about where the access is, and I agree with Jeff. I'm not looking to get into a habit of, yes, and we extend everything, but understanding and seeing what the future potential development is and access. I think there's more discussion to be had on the overall big picture on how connectivity plays a role with this or doesn't. If the other land is not suitable for development, then I think we have a different conversation, or the conversation just continues perhaps in a different direction. So I share Jeff's concerns, but I think in the right scenario or condition, less impact on the wetlands for a little bit longer road, I think could work in some scenarios.
The very long lots 20 and 21 that connect over behind Country Woods and continue over towards Remick have been investigated for wetlands and vernal pools. And there is capability for a road system and lots along that connectivity.
Matt, is this helpful what I'm pulling up right now, just seeing the surrounding parcels?
It is. It is, and I think maybe an overall site location plan and maybe an overall master concept plan, I think could help the board understand, the potential, whether it's an official proposal or not, or fully vetted. I think just learning more about the potential of the connection, I think is important. Yeah.
And if you remember, the board wouldn't know this, but we went through PDRC for, the applicant owns the Paper Street right-of-way to Country Woods. And so we went to PDRC and we were turned down through that process because the road measurement was from Jenkins, and the 1,000 feet was limiting because the applicant wasn't prepared to do the full connection. He didn't own Silver Pine yet. To do the full connection, that was turned down for an option to proceed with getting into those back lots that he owns into connecting over to Remick. And that was turned down. And then the applicant proceeded to buy Silver Pine. So you can see where the concept plan's going.
So,
But having said that, we're just here for this tonight.
Yep.
We're not here for a concept master plan. We haven't submitted it, we haven't proposed it, we haven't gone to PDRC with it. We are looking at the existing environmental areas on this property and the wish to utilize the the developable areas and the requirements across the stream and associated wetlands. 255 linear feet of road is proposed beyond the ordinance requirements in order to develop that. Now, if I go back to the net residential calc, the maximum density for these lots is 16 lots. And we're only proposing 7.
Yep.
So we have tried to minimize all of our environmental impacts and at the same time requesting 255 extra feet to cross a regulated stream and do it properly and just city public street standards to have a nice, I mean, if you look at that cul-de-sac, that's a nice neighborhood right there. Potential.
Yes. Any other thoughts from board members? All right, any final thoughts or questions for us?
No, sir.
Okay. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, continuing with our workshop items this evening, we'll move to workshop item 1B, and this is Remick Drive, map 90, lot 24-2. Anything to add to this item, Charles?
No, not right now. I think it's the same, just understanding, I think, to the end of the last conversation that this is kind of the other side of those back lots.
Sure.
And we were also here for a previous site plan application that has since been withdrawn. So we had a site walk July or December. It was, or not July or December, November, December. I think it was before the snow, but we were there for a site walk not too long ago.
Sure. All right, thank you.
Remember we were looking at the encroachment from the daycare on the property, and we were looking at the playground, and
Sure.
and the
So,
sewer was coming through.
yeah, can you, Tim, just for
Yep.
meeting minutes, can you reintroduce yourself again for this
My
specific
name is
item?
Tim Mitchell with Teradyne Consultants. I'm speaking on behalf of SACE LCC for a proposed 4-lot residential Sandy Brook subdivision to be located on Remick Drive in Saco. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the property is shown on City of Saco's tab map 90 as lot 24-2. The approximately 15-acre project parcel is the remaining land of the Remick Private Way project that was developed by Teradyne and approved by the city in 2019. The applicant is the owner of the 15.9-acre project parcel and the owner of Remick Drive. Remick Drive extends off Jenkins Road via a 50-foot right-of-way and consists of 18-foot wide gravel drive, approximately 800 feet in length, terminates in Hammerhead. 3 existing single-family lots are provided with frontage along Remick Drive, as we saw during our site walk. Project parcel contains an existing 15-foot wide right-of-way and sewer utility easement to the Fog Estates development with connection to the municipal sewer system within Jenkins Road. Lot 2421, one of the existing lots, is also provided with connection to the city's sewer system via an individual low-pressure system. The 2 other residential lots are served by individual subsurface wastewater disposal, wells, and overhead utilities for electric and communications. The project is located within the Gooseberry Brook watershed. It is not located within the sand or gravel aquifer region and is not located within a flood hazard area. Wetlands on the project were delineated by Chris Copey. On the 9-acre project parcel and the abutting parcels owned by the applicant in 2023. There are approximately 4 acres of forested wetlands delineated on the project parcel. This project proposes to alter no wetlands. The project does not contain any vernal pools. In the proposed conditions, we're proposing 4 new lots. The lots will be served by private well, individual subsurface, and underground power provided from existing utilities. The Road is proposed to be 1,060 linear feet and terminate with a hammerhead turnaround that will be constructed with a 50-foot right-of-way. The roadway will also be provided with a 50-foot paper street for connectivity to abutting parcels owned by the applicant. The road will be built to city Saco standards, curbing, drainage, under drainage, sidewalk, central mailbox, landscaping. The project will require a waiver from ordinance section 188-710 to be longer than 1,000 feet in order to provide access to upland areas of the site. 3 of the proposed lots will be accessed from Samana Lane, which is proposed to be approximately 831 linear feet when measured from Jenkins Road. Samana Lane will be constructed within a 50-foot right-of-way and terminate with a hammerhead. The road will be built to private standards. There's also Kamari Drive, which the applicant is looking to merge. We've submitted information on that. And zoning is the same as the other lot. Net residential area calcs there are 8 lots allowed, 4 proposed. And open space is quite a bit more. And utilities will be provided. So with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you. Did you say 1,600 feet to the end of Remick on this one? Or is that a different value that I heard?
1,060.
1,060. Okay. All right, thank you. Board members, any questions for the applicant? Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Tim, the force main that feeds Samuel Marshall Drive or Fog Estates, whatever it was at one point, is currently in the Remick Drive, and that would be located under the proposed.
We are proposing to make that gravity back to Samana Lane and get the force main out of the public right-of-way.
So you're planning on doing some modifications so
Yep.
that private infrastructure is
Yep.
not under a street that would be offered for
Yep,
city
and
acceptance?
then we will offer that gravity to the city.
Okay. So kind of staying on the utility theme, what is shown as Kamari Drive is being proposed to be removed, and you're going to create new access to Remick Drive for the existing lots on the south side, correct? Is there plans to remove that overhead utility pole line that comes through
Yes,
and refeed all of that from the Remick Drive so that we don't have this
yes,
kind of treescape of
yep.
pole line? Okay. Here again, I was looking at a couple of the lots and how they're, they fit in there between the wetlands. Can we just be aware if the groundwater limiting factor is what, less than 24 inches per chapter 188, 802E1? If it's less than 24 inches, there needs to be a reserve site for an additional septic designed. If we could have, if that is the case, if we could have that plotted on future plans. Those were kind of my key items, and playing on the same theme, I think it would be much more valuable if we had an overall master phase plan of what the connectivity is, so that we, not beat the same drum that all these dead-end streets. Where are we going? That would be helpful in the future.
On a preliminary plan for both, submission for both, we can provide that as an exhibit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other thoughts from board members? Yeah, I share some of Jeff's thoughts as well. Some of the things we were talking about, sidewalks, snow storage, lighting, landscape, buffering. with this adjustment with Camary Drive, what, as part of the proposal, what happens to the grading, stormwater, landscape in that area? What does that area look like
Well, we know it's a
when
problem
we're
area
done?
now, so what we're looking to do is reduce the flow going towards that area and direct it away from that area.
Okay.
We're not gonna eliminate the flow, we're gonna reduce the flow. So we are gonna be making the situation better. We're gonna we're gonna improve the ditching between Remick Drive and Kamari Drive. Kamari Drive will be grassed, but we will improve the ditching to get to the existing culverts, and we will be reducing the amount of flow that goes towards that direction.
Okay. And then what happens to those few properties on Camary Drive? Those are now Remick Drive, their addresses change? Are they,
Yep.
do they become part,
We're providing,
this-
we're providing curb cuts and driveways.
and then are they part of the subdivision and part of the HOA? Do they have responsibilities with
They are
the rest
part-
of Remick
They are
Drive?
part of the 15 units. We're only proposing 4 new units, so that would be the HOA. And for Kamari Drive, as of now, we're just offering public street access.
15 total lots, but then not
There'll
part
be-
of the
there'll be-
HOA, is that
there'll
what you're
be
saying?
15 total units.
15 total units,
Actually, it's 14 total units.
14.
So
14.
there's 3 lots on Kamari, 3 lots on Remick that are existing, so those are 6 units. We're proposing 4 2-unit lots, so 8 plus 6 is 14.
Okay.
And we're providing an improvement. These people are looking to come onto a public street, and this is gonna be applicant expense to do it.
Sure. So it's, but we have the HOA till the full adopted street. We have that to work through,
They'll be
of course,
part
but-
of the road maintenance and HOA when it's when it's a private street. I believe they will be.
Okay.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm not an HOA expert, but I believe that's how it would have to work.
Centralized mailbox. I guess with part of this, and perhaps we can get some input from staff as necessary as well, but how do we go about, or how does the applicant go about including these property owners with an application like this? I don't think we've seen one quite like this before, so,
We can review that with the applicants, learn how to do that, but
Sure.
we did submit the agreement to terminate Kamari Drive,
sure.
part of our application. And this has been something that's been talked about a lot, so the ball has been moved.
Okay. Jeff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I guess kind of on your theme, it would be helpful to me for clarification if they were to come back and have some documentation of interest or desire of those existing homeowners on the south side of Camary Drive to say, yes, we are in support of these benefits and we are willing to pay into and join a road maintenance agreement for the time,
We can take care of that during the
versus that they're going to be forced into something. That makes me feel very different. Right? So if they're saying, yeah, we're on board, or no, we will accept these changes and our Camary Drive will go away, but we're expecting that it's, free of fees in a road maintenance agreement, that would be helpful, I would think.
We can-
Sure, and Camary is private, it's a private
Yeah, it's
drive
a
now.
it's a gravel drive.
So they're, I suspect they're,
It's a gravel drive with flooding issues.
sure, they have,
They're looking to abandon it. But as far as part of the preliminary plan, mind you, this is just a sketch plan. And we did provide the agreement to terminate the access. As part of the preliminary plan, we
Yep.
can provide letters from the abutters, so the board has a comfortable feel of this process going forward. To be honest, we're almost done with our stormwater design, and basically all the design for Remick Drive for the proposed project, so we're kind of wrapping the design portion of it up. But we still have the hydrogeologic, we're just waiting for the snow to go away a little bit to do the hydrogeologic and test pits and subsurface investigations by Mark Sensei's.
Sure.
So it's all in the works. But we can expand on what we provided, for those abutters.
Yeah,
Matt,
I don't,
I'll just jump in to add that we'll have to do a legal review for those documents
course.
as well, because it's not just HOA documents, it's right-of-ways, easements. As the DPW engineer mentioned, it is meant that they're part of a public road, so we'll want to fully iron that out
course.
before we, approve it to be accepted.
And I assume that they were notified as part of this meeting right here.
I would suspect that all the requirements are met, yeah. Okay, that was my big picture. What does the area of Kamari Drive look like at the conclusion of the project?
Basically, we want to improve the ditch between Remick and Kamari, which is not in great shape right now. And we want to return that area to vegetation. Loam and seed and to grow naturally.
Okay. Jeff?
One more thought I had. How far, we have force main sewer, we're kind of at the terminus of the sewer. How far is the water supply from Remick Drive?
Pretty far away, I believe.
Can we just check to see if it's within our 1,500 feet where we're required? We don't really have the right to say we can go to private wells?
I believe I looked into that. If you remember right, the water was extended for Amari Springs, which is not close to Remick Drive.
Okay, it's just one of those questions, right? It's kind of, we just have that
Of
for
course.
future information would be helpful.
Yep.
Any other thoughts, questions from board members? Jim?
Mr. Chair, just one, following up on what Jeff mentioned, one of the Department of Public Works comments, number 13, was a comment about perhaps the need to have this development all on public sewer. And I think you addressed that, but could you just clarify that?
Yeah, that's an absolute no, per the boss, Howard. The Goose Fair Brook is their last remaining project to be allowed to tie into the city system at this time until improvements are made. And that's why there's a $33 per gallon connection fee in the city to collect fees to make improvements to the pump stations out in this area. So this was several years ago. The Goose Fair was the remaining one that was allowed.
So
We've asked.
So this is within the 1,500 feet, but because the system isn't sufficient to take care of it, then it's not required?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Howard had said that Goose Fair Brook subdivision, Goose Fair Crossing was the last one he was going to allow. And that was also because the terminus manhole is right next to it. So it didn't require any extensions. So what we will do is we will extend this gravity so it's in the public right away to get down to the intersection with Samana Lane, provide a terminus manhole for Fog Estates and that one lot that's right next door that is on a 2-inch force main as well. We'll reconnect them there outside of the public right away. And then offer that portion to the city. So to eliminate private utilities within the public right away.
All right, thank you, Jim. Any other thoughts from board members? All right, great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Planning Board and valued community representatives, I welcome you all to this evening's assembly of the Saco Planning Board. As chairman, it is my privilege to convene this gathering dedicated to the thoughtful planning and development of our community. Today, we come together with a shared commitment to shaping the future of our city in a manner that reflects our values, respects our heritage, and fulfills the needs of our residents both now and in the future. Our agenda tonight contains important matters, each requiring our careful consideration, expertise, and collaboration. As we engage in our deliberations, let us remember the profound impact these decisions will have on the lives of all, keeping in mind we are residents like you. It is our duty to maintain transparency, fairness, and inclusivity in our proceedings, ensuring that the voices of all are heard and respected. Together, we must embrace the responsibility entrusted to us by our community, working diligently and thoughtfully to chart a course that fosters growth, prosperity, and harmony. With that, I would like to call this meeting of the Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 Saco Planning Board to order. I look forward to the productive discussions and meaningful outcomes that lie ahead. Thank you. With us this evening, myself, Matt Provenzel, the chair of the board, and to my left, we have our vice chair, Joyce Leary Clark, along with planning board members Jeff Brochu, Catherine Palini, and to my right, planning board members Carrie Lynn Lane, Jim Moyer, and Chris Gagnon. We also have with us our staff members, Charles Tettleman, our city planner, and Lisa Harmon, our planning compliance manager. Also with us this evening is our Ward 7 City Council liaison, Nathan Johnson. With that, we will move to our first item of business this evening, which is our review and acceptance and approval of our previous meeting minutes. We have before us our minutes from February 3rd and site walk meeting minutes and notes from our January 21st site walk at 83 Jenkins Road. Board members, any comments, edits, questions? Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our meeting minutes from February 3rd, I read it, it bothered me, I've reread it again, I don't know, so I was just wondering what the board's feel was on page 3, the first paragraph. The last sentence kind of got to me, but the whole paragraph reads, Jeff Brochu moves to close the public hearing, second by Jim Moeller. All vote unanimously 6-0. Discussion. Concerns with extension request, possible violations of conditions of approval, comma, but the board appears to be unanimous in denial of request with no motions having been made. I just didn't know, is that kind of like a interpretation of the vibe by the minute taker? Should we just strike that last sentence? I mean, because the next paragraph pretty much says that we made a motion. If I reread it tonight, I don't know if I have as much concern, but.
Any thoughts from board members?
I mean, I do think we kind of prematurely discussed how we might be leaning on voting, but yeah, I mean, I think we could take out the last of that sentence, from the word but on, but board appears to be unanimous in denial of request, because in the following paragraph, we talk about the motion and the second and the actual vote, which was not unanimous.
Any other thoughts from board members? I agree. I think we can strike that last. We can have the discussion, concerns about extension request. But I think from there on, because we made a motion after that, I think we can omit that. Some nods from board members.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
So with that, Mr. Chair, I would move that we edit the meeting minutes from February 3rd, 2023, page 3, last sentence of the first paragraph, striking, but board appears to be unanimous in denial of request with no motions having been made. I move that we adopt the meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you for the motion, Jeff, and the second, Joyce. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
I abstain, I was not in attendance.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. So with that, any comments or edits on our site walk notes from January 21 at 83 Jenkins Road?
Mr. Chair, I guess just a minor one. I think I think it's Boothby Lane, not Boothby Drive. But other than that one, and it probably makes sense to be specific because I'm sure there's another Boothby Road, maybe up in Boothby Park. Carrie Lynn would know. But with that minor change, I'd move to approve the January 21st site walk minutes.
I would second.
Thank you for the motion, Joyce, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion to accept the January 21st site walk notes from 83 Jenkins Road with the edit of Boothby Lane? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Not in attendance, abstain?
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. All right, continuing along with our agenda this evening, we have item 5. This is our Planning Board Public Hearing Guidelines. This is a document developed by the board and city staff outlining the procedure in place for public hearings held. This explains the purpose of the public hearings and the outlined procedure of reviewing an application, public comment presentation, and meeting duration. This is a document that can be provided to anyone that needs it. There are hard copies at the rear of the auditorium, along with digital copies on the city's website as well. So if anyone has any questions or needs a copy of that, please let us know. Our next item on our agenda this evening is our public comment period. This is where we will give the members of the public an opportunity to come and speak before the board. The planning board appreciates public comments and knows that the public has matters, or can comment, about matters before us and help us understand neighborhood concerns or review an application or help address any potential outstanding items. Those wishing to make statements about an application that is under review are asked to make those during a applicable public hearing period. Comments during this period is limited to 3 minutes. We typically take a total of 15 minutes or so to do this. So with that, if anyone would like to come before the board, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we will collect comments and address them accordingly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Archer, 185 Bradley Street. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but when I came in here and I saw a full board, I've got to say this is a historic moment that I certainly appreciate to see 7 planning board members, critical independent thinkers that offer a lot to the table. Even being brand new, you stepped right up, and glad to see you back, Carrie Lynn. So I just have to say it, and then to have the people at the staff and the council liaison, I don't know the last time this happened. So I have to say I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this just in reference to what you've already talked about, or I have
Can you
something
just
to say about
speak into the microphone, please?
Sure, can you pull the microphone down a little bit? So this is an opportunity for general comment. For example, there are a few items on our agenda this evening for Lincoln Street, 321 Lincoln Street, 352 North Street, 63 Watson Mill, 83 Jenkins Road. So if it is on those items, we'll have time for public comment on those items, if that answers your question.
I just didn't know when I needed to speak, either now or wait until 83 comes up.
Yes, when 83 comes up.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, seeing no additional members of the public coming to the podium, we will continue with our agenda this evening. Our next item is our planning applications under review and public hearings this evening. We have a few items on this agenda. Looks like we have 4 or 5 or so. So we'll go through, we'll introduce them, we'll gather any updates from staff, and we'll invite the applicant up to the board and give us any updates or presentations that they have prepared. So with that, our first item on this agenda is 7A. This is 321 Lincoln Street, map 52, lot 19. And the applicant is Big Ledge LLC, and this is a continued public hearing review this evening. This is for preliminary subdivision, site plan, and slow to review for a 94-lot single-family residential subdivision located within the medium-density residential zoning district. Anything to add on this item, Charles?
None right now. I believe I updated the packet to have the findings of fact for both projects tonight, and those are in your after-the-fact packet as well, so just making sure that you guys had those in hand. But those are the same findings of fact we looked at back in December.
Great, thank you. Board members, any questions for staff at this time? Any conflicts or disclosures on this item before we begin? All right, and with that, if we have the applicant with us, I would like to give us any updates or presentation.
Sure, good evening. Drew Guyton with Goral Palmer representing Big Ledge. Just a few updates I want to touch on for the board. I'll be real quick here. Since the last time we met, the Department of Public Works memo had a few engineering comments. We met with the city engineer and some other public works staff and worked through those actually ahead of the comments, so we knew all those were coming. And as the memo states, we'll be able to update all the plans for that under final subdivision. And we have no disagreements with any of the comments, and they're relatively easy to address. So we're happy to acknowledge those and move those forward to upon final subdivision. A discussion point last time was the gutter and drip line edge filters. We're in agreement with the code enforcement on the approach for enforcement. They'll be part of a building, require a building permit where all the lots will have to require that, and that's a easier way for the city to enforce those. So we're in agreement with that, and good to see the city is in agreement with that as well. We did talk a little bit about sidewalks and connectivity last time we were up here. I want to note just 2 of the standards that we're required to meet for the sidewalks. This is under site plan, section 179, 5.03 D10. And I'm going to paraphrase it here a little bit, but new or substantially enlarged commercial and multifamily developments shall provide for safe, convenient pedestrian access with sidewalks built to city specifications, except where the planning board determines that little pedestrian access is likely, and proposals shall incorporate sidewalks along frontage of development. And this project does trigger site plan review based on the size of it from a SLOTA state permanent perspective. Under subdivision, section 188, 710.C4B, sidewalks are required along all subdivision streets and along frontage of any street which abuts the subdivision or gives access to it. The planning board may require that the sidewalk be extended for a reasonable distance to connect with existing sidewalks or destinations such as bus stops and or schools. So we're proposing sidewalks along every public street, and, well, there's no private streets as of yet because we're asking for the waiver, but if there was a private street, there would still be a sidewalk on there. as well as frontage along the Bradley Street side and connecting to Tasker. So we're providing connection on the Bradley Street to downtown Saco and Tasker Street. On the south side towards Lincoln, we're providing it a crosswalk to get to the sidewalk, which is on the south side of Lincoln Street. And in addition, just wanted to clarify, we are providing a sidewalk along the frontage of Lincoln Street heading towards Skyline Drive, and we're going to end the sidewalk at the property line, which is just where the Kimball Health Center driveway starts, just about 100 feet past where that property line is. So there was some discussion about Skyline Drive as well as the Lincoln Street frontage, and I know the Department of Public Works provided a memo saying about kind of recapping any of the discussions that the Public Works had with the applicant regarding any funding for sidewalks, and that was very clear, and we understood that. But at this time, since the city is not participating in any of that, which we understand, that would be a separate discussion, and that the applicant is just proposing to the property line. So the frontage along Lincoln Street, the frontage on Bradley Street from the east side of the entrance towards all the way to Tasker, so off-site sidewalks there. And then, again, just the connections to the existing infrastructure. So with that, we believe we're more than meeting the standard that's required under subdivision and site plan. I'm happy to go over I do have a graphic if the board wishes to see that I could show exactly what I'm talking about. If the words didn't make sense, this is the same proposal that we've had to date. So it's nothing new there. And happy to answer any questions regarding that. We are seeking preliminary subdivision and site plan approval this evening, so we would request that we have a vote held for that. So appreciate the board's time, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Great, thank you, sir. Board members, any questions for the applicant? Jeff? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Drew, would it be possible, could you pull up that image that you have of the sidewalks, particularly the Kimball Health side, so we can see the remaining distance from Kimball Health to Skyline?
Okay, should be up on the screen here. So let me back out here a little bit. So the blue is the existing, or excuse me, the blue is the proposed, I'll call on-site sidewalks, which is along every road frontage, and I did omit this one, which does have a sidewalk. I just didn't draw it on here. Red is the proposed off-site, I'll call sidewalks, which again, from the Bradley Street entrance to the Tasker intersection, as well as the connection down here to the Lincoln Street sidewalk, as well as along the frontage of the applicant's parcel to the Kimball Health Center here. Black is existing off-site infrastructure that, from a sidewalk perspective, that is existing as of today. This is Skyline Drive right here. The distance from where the applicant's proposing to leave the sidewalk off in Skyline is, I believe, about 1,000 feet, maybe just under 900 feet, something in that range.
Joyce?
I was going to ask the same thing, actually, so the graphics are always helpful.
Any other thoughts or questions from board members? Jeff?
Mr. Chair, just kind of a housekeeping thing. Because this has been such an ongoing review, I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. And you asked for the disclosures. Could we just hear from Chris and Carrie Lynn how they've prepared tonight, and if the applicant's okay, just so that if we do get into some voting, we've already addressed that housekeeping issue?
Sure. Board members, Chris and Carrie Lynn. So Chris, understanding you're new to the board here. As far as this item here, you feel you're prepared and up to date and versed on this particular item to continue participation, or any reservations from yourself?
Yeah, I would say I've reviewed the material in my capacity as a citizen of Saco. I've heard about this project as it's been in the works. If there was something that was an involved vote on extreme technical capacity, I would definitely need to ask some questions of the board and the applicant. But it seems, at least from my reading of things, that this has been a very thorough process. There's a lot of documentation here. So I would say if I felt like I was kicking to what the overall feeling the board had, I would probably kind of keep that to myself. I'm not opposed to voting on this, but if I feel any sort of, I'm out of over my skis on this, I would definitely just abstain on any votes, if that kind of makes sense.
Okay, so you've read the material and caught yourself up to provide an appropriate objective position on it. Okay, fantastic. Carrie Lynn, we know we've missed you for a little bit here, but we know you're familiar with it, and you were part of early discussions and early on. So as far as where the application and applicant has updated information and catching up on that, you have any concerns or feel that you've caught up appropriately?
I definitely do feel like I've caught up, just catching up on a lot of the documentation that I've followed through. And yeah, I've kind of been there from day one, from the first application. So I feel like it's been just catching up on the checklists and the requirements that the board has asked for. So I've paid attention to everything else that's been in my meeting minutes.
Great, thank you. And from the applicant, any reservations about any of the board members participating, and I guess in the capacity that they've presented?
Nope, we're all set.
Great, thank you. So with that, if the board is prepared and ready, we do have this application as a public hearing, continued public hearing this evening. So when the board's ready, we can continue with that.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to open the public hearing.
I will second.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion on the motion to open the public hearing on this item? Jim?
Mr. Chair, I'm hoping that tonight we can follow our standard operating procedure and hold each member of the public to the 5 minutes for their comments. And I would suggest that I guess we have different lights there, green, yellow, and red. I'm pretty familiar with those in court. And I would suggest that whoever is timing to throw the yellow switch on at 1 minute left, so that the members of the public can be efficient with their comments, and there won't be a lot of repetition. So that's my comment on the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jeff. Excuse me, Jim. I was looking at Jeff out of the corner of my eye. Thank you. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, with
And Mr. Chair, who is keeping the timing for?
our vice chair controls the timer.
And it does actually, it does start blinking at people at the 1 minute mark. I think people are busy talking or reading their materials and they don't see it or they just want to finish up. But it does in fact
Automatically?
blink at people.
I think that's helpful. Mr. Chair, if I may just
Yes.
mention, I think it's very helpful. I know it can be a little unnerving for members of the public to have this very short time period to speak, but with little practice, if they know they're going to speak, they could address their points quickly and efficiently, and if they have trouble doing that, then we can always help them understand how to make public comment within 5 minutes. But I think it would be very helpful for us as well as the other applicants before the board and the public generally if we adhere to those time periods.
Thank you, Jim. Any other discussion items? Joyce?
I guess just keeping in mind too that of course people can always submit written comments and many do. So people aren't just limited to 5 minutes at the podium. They can also submit written comments.
Of course. All right, great, thank you. So with that, those in favor of opening the public hearing, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. So with that, if any members of the public are with us this evening that would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address. And as mentioned, the speakers will have 5 minutes to present. If there are any hard copies or any written testimony that you would like to provide, please hand those to our city planner and city staff, and we will get those into the record. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Eon. I live at 59 Boom Road, which somewhat abuts this. I own an easement right across the street from Skyline Drive, and we had done 5 homes there. There's an old subdivision that I own that's grandfathered somewhat of 30 lots, and then we have the 50-acre farm. I have no intentions of developing much of that in my lifetime, but eventually that does have the water down there and that type of stuff, so I'll take up my first 30 seconds saying that. And I respect this team and Jason and his wife for what they do. And my only involvement has been on the Economic Development Commission for a long time, and Long Range Planning Commission. And connectivity is very important to me and safety for kids. I've got an 8 and 11-year-old grandchildren that live on the end of Hubbard, which abuts our farm. And they're out on bikes with friends and that sort of stuff, and it's always been, and I'm doing the same thing in Biddeford on a Barrow Road, connectivity with the Eastern Trail. I'm giving a lot of land away over there. I have on the site, on the subdivision plan that you're going to sign, Drew just talked tonight about getting the sidewalk to their property line, and the ordinance is fairly clear that if you think there's a bus stop, and if you remember, the only issues I had with the last project, although the size of it was very big, is that they weren't going to even bring the bus. There's a bus stop at the corner of Skyline and Lincoln Street, which is probably another 200 feet, I'm not sure from where they're going, but something like that. That's well within the realm of this board to say we've got to at least do that. What I've been involved in is I own a small piece of land at the end of Applewood, and I wanted to make sure, so if somebody could put up site plan that you're going to sign, the preliminary plan, you'll see where there's a little note says note number 5, which is incorrect what it is, but I own that little piece of land, and I'd like to see the Applewood be able, sidewalk, which incidentally I got a notice a couple of weeks ago that they're going to rebuild that whole road and I can't pave it and I've got to do something with the utilities. So there's got to be some money somewhere if Travis' department sent that out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I've been away, so I haven't had a chance to discuss this with the applicant, but So I'm still all about getting the sidewalks done as much as we can. I know there was some money from a prior project with Phil Hatch. He's been tied up with family deaths and stuff. As far as, I don't know how much it is, $25,000, $50,000 that could go towards something. But the key is, with everything that's happening in Biddeford, and there's a lot, because I follow that closely, because I do a lot over there, and the new turnpike in Saco, and all of the traffic stuff that's been approved tonight was done prior to that stuff opening. I don't have a real problem with that. But the real thing is, I've noticed that just in the last couple of weeks, there's quite a bit more stuff going on and the way traffic is going. So the sidewalk is important to me. I don't think they should build a sidewalk on Skyline Drive. I think they should have a little skin in it. I personally think it wouldn't be a big deal for them to get down to the corner and still participate and with somebody who's ever going to spearhead it. I haven't even got to meet Charles going out of City Hall a week ago saying hi, I was going to get in, but I haven't had a chance, about this particular thing, getting this teed up so that by the time everything happens over there and this happens, and then the other thing I didn't see is in the phasing plan, it doesn't say at what phase the traffic's going to be able to go out through to Route 5, because all the other plans used to be it was all going to right from day one because it's an arterial street, but this is phase, so that's phase 5. When's the traffic going to go out there? Because there's going to be that much more going over without a sidewalk. With a sidewalk, connecting that down, I'm good with all of it. With us getting an easement through my piece of land and maybe 15 feet on their piece, and again, if the site plan could go up, and you can discuss it at some point before you vote. If you look at the end of where I'm talking about, I'll give an easement across my piece for a future path when the city might accept that land, if they would leave an easement there, so that those neighborhoods could all be interconnected, so you don't have to go out to Route 5 if you want to take a walk. That's all I've got to say. So it's all about that. Travis worked, you can see by his memo, he's referring to getting that work done, but they don't have the money right now. I know there's some monies. They've done, somebody did that red plan and some engineering, at least on paper, but that's all it really takes. The drainage is in over there, there's catch basins. Roads like this, it's got to be rebuilt anyway. So the city should be able to come up with something, but planning board should support the effort to get that done maybe before phase 3 or something, so that whether they participate a little more or the city takes it upon themselves, which they should, is to be decided. So I guess I'm up with my time. Is that my 1 minute? Is that it? I got to look up there. Thank you for your time. That's all I had, and I think they're a great team, and I think it'll be a good project. I'd just like to see a little more happen there. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir.
Hello again, Kelly Archer, 185 Bradley Street. We're talking about preliminary subdivision review. A critical checkpoint of a standalone application process is specifically designed to allow the board and the public to review technical reports, including mandatory traffic studies, before the project moves to the final subdivision application review. Preliminary standards mandates decisions for approval at this initial process, not future. Traffic impact analysis. We all know that it must evaluate existing traffic volumes, projected peak hour trip generation, capacity, analysis, site distance, and accident history. Based upon our ordinances and in the packet, Goral Palmer's traffic evaluation of 8/4/2025 memo and peer reviewer 10/6/2025 VHB's traffic study and my 6 years of participation, I'm still concerned with the existing conditions data on the traffic reports. Turning movement counts were conducted at Lincoln Street, Maple Street, let's get the visual, Bradley Street, Tasker Street on April 10th, 2025. We all knew at that time Route 1 had construction and we had turnpike construction happening at that time. That is 10 months ago. Additional data for Bradley Street and Garfield Street in your packet was utilized from a July 13, 2022 study, 3.5 years ago. Why? This is absolutely unacceptable. Some historic reference for this record. Years ago, I informed officials that inaccurate TMP studies were being performed after MDOT's manual revision in 4/2022. This significant and critical intersection of Bradley and Garfield cannot be based on a 3.5-year study. That would be most likely have errors. Our ordinance does not require a second preliminary traffic study, but it does require mandatory traffic data at preliminary application review, that the initial study be thorough and reflective of current conditions, The existing study omits critical infrastructure changes currently within Ward 5 streets, like the opening of the Turnpike exit, that is significant large scales, hundreds of approvals from adjoining municipalities traveling through these streets, both beyond the standard 0.5% annual growth factor, much less factoring that into the year 2027, nor, as stated by the city's peer reviewer, VHB, didn't recreate certain seasonal adjustments. So where's that current data? This preliminary subdivision public hearing phase is the primary legal venue for abutters to request that the board require the applicant to ensure traffic data is accurate and current before the project gains its initial approval. This traffic study is insufficient. You must mandate an updated traffic impact study that reflects the current movement conditions in this neighborhood in Garfield, Bradley Street. Remember, the Superior Court upheld this board's authority to demand rigorous traffic proof. So you should, again, and within the required preliminary review stage only, one must know the required current and accurate data before one can vote to move ahead in the process. As far as page 6E, traffic, I do have a concern with that. I'll just name off the standards and I'll go back. Page 6E, traffic. Page 3I, vehicle circulation and pedestrian access. Page 4Q, traffic. Page 9S, I disagree with that comment. Let's go with that one. Page 9, that standard is not met. The road network is designed to support safe and efficient circulation for vehicles, pedestrians, and emergency access, and no adverse impacts to traffic safety or capacity are anticipated. As part of the final subdivision application, the applicant shall coordinate with the Planning Department and Department of Public Works. Why isn't it saying Planning Board? We need to have that third item in there for you to review it or change the verbiage in that condition of approval to say as part of the final subdivision application review, that would mean it would be in front of you, or put the planning board in there. Page 4Q, traffic, the proposed development will not cause safety hazards and will be consistent with generally accepted complete street standards. Why aren't we doing complete street standards? Why isn't Mikey on? I'll let it go at that. I will email. I don't know how to say this point of order, Charles. If they close if they close the public hearing and we submit something after, how is that? Could you please explain that on my way back to my seat? Thank you.
Thank you.
I can respond to that after you guys go, unless you want me to respond.
Yeah, could you respond now, please?
We'll receive it. I can forward it to the planning board, but depending on how tonight goes, I don't know. Any public comment received after would probably be for final subdivision. But we'd collect it, we'd put it in the project file. You would receive it as well. But
okay.
if it's received later tonight, it won't be depending on the results of the evening. We'll receive it depending on the outcomes of tonight's proceedings. It'll be part of the public record or for a project that has been...
regardless, it's part of the public record for,
yeah,
for the project?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, having, or hearing no other member of the public wishing to speak, I'll move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Carrie Lynn. Any additional discussion? Jeff?
This is one of the things that we teeter on. I respect Jim's points, but we have a member of the public who's in a butter and very well researched, and I just have a real hard time with cutting them at 5 minutes. We're not in a pattern where somebody's rambling and going on, and I don't like the project. They're providing factual information, and I think it's a disservice to our citizens. I've never agreed with this time limit. I would like to step out and hear what Ms. Archer has to say to finish her thoughts, because as I know, she and several other people come very factually prepared. But that's my view. I think we should be able to hear the public out, because it's a very valid point. If we close the public hearing tonight, that starts our time. Basically, we're just saying what you said doesn't really matter. Yeah, we can carry it forward to final review, but we've missed the window of opportunity. We've already approved a preliminary plan. We should be asking questions before we get to that point. So I'm not in favor of closing the public hearing for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Chris?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. Is in the rules, a citizen can request an additional 3 minutes, is that correct?
The board typically can allow an additional 3 minutes once there's been an opportunity for all members of the public that would wish to speak, have had an opportunity to do so.
Okay.
And then the board can allow another 3 minutes per our SOP if they would like. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions from board members?
Yeah, I guess if we're following that protocol, then if no other members of the public are interested in speaking, it seems like we could give anybody who's come up another 3 minutes.
Any other thoughts? I guess my opinion is we have a lot of information here. The information is been with us for quite a bit. We don't have what's the word I'm looking for? It's not new. We've talked about traffic for quite a bit at quite a bit of length. So I think the topic has been appropriately discussed. This is my position. That's just where I'm at. Any other discussion? Jim?
And I appreciate that concern. I mean, the comments Ms. Archer was making, I think we've talked about those issues multiple times on this application in past hearings, and I think that's all been addressed, but I'm not discounting her concern about those issues. Please don't misunderstand me, but I don't think that that is anything new that we haven't already heard before.
Thank you, Jim. Any other thoughts, discussion on the motion? All right. Motion made by Jim, second by Carrie Lynn to close the public hearing. Those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes?
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
No.
Jeff?
No.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Motion passes 5-2 to close the public hearing. Back to the board. Any final questions for, or I shouldn't say final questions, any additional questions for the applicant or staff? Joyce?
Wondering about the extension of the sidewalk to Skyline, or Mr. Eon mentioned over Applewood. Is that's not part of the proposal now, correct, Drew? The sidewalk on Applewood leading into Skyline that way?
Correct, and let me try to share this back so we can see this plan. Yeah, correct. Now, I'll preface this by saying the location Mr. Yan was talking about is right here. It's the Applewood right away in the property that he owns. Excuse me, I think it's this one. Yes, it is this one, sorry. It's this one right here. So this would be part of open space that, again, is proposed to be remained to the city. So I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be this development or project's discussion if we were going to connect to that. I will say there's challenges because of the wetlands that surround from where the right-of-way is in the road to that location. Someone would have to do additional wetland impacts and permitting to be able to propose some sort of, even a pedestrian access would need that. I guess this potential, you could span it with a boardwalk. Sometimes those aren't counted as wetland impacts under certain circumstances. So that's like the only opportunity with less permitting to do that. But that's not part of this proposal, to answer your question.
But Drew, you're alluding to a trail, essentially? I mean, if it's a boardwalk, but you're saying perhaps or I don't mean to put words into your mouth, but something built has one particular set of impacts versus something that's not. Obviously, is that what you're getting at?
Correct. Anything, whether it's a trail or a paved sidewalk, and if it was going to be a public improvement, you would want it, ADA access and stuff, so it'd likely need to be materialized and not just a trail.
Of course.
There's ways around, I guess, wetland impacts with boardwalks. There's obviously still some other impacts when it comes to stormwater, other things like that. I just was raising the challenge a little bit of getting in that specific area from the public right-of-way.
Sure. Could you maybe explain a deeded easement in that area for potential connectivity? How does that impact that particular area or the wetland if it's simply a deeded easement?
Yeah, an easement wouldn't impact nothing done other than pins, which aren't an impact to wetlands. But again, if it's public open space, that wouldn't happen. That would be the city's decision, council future's decision to be able to do that. If this open space remained public by an HOA because the city did not want to take it, then yeah, an easement could be appropriate. So it's one of those, I don't think the applicants, and if it was a private HOA, providing an easement there is not an issue, correct? Yeah, so, if we could control an easement there, we have no issue with that to protect, in the future. It's just, it's kind of up in the air since we're proposing it as public open space.
I understand. Did that answer your question a little bit, Joyce? Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions for the applicant?
Well, one more, and I know you've already addressed this with us, but this is going back a few meetings. At what point is there full connectivity between Lincoln and Bradley? What phase is that?
Well, this main road from Bradley is proposed to be a construction access for the time being, so there would be a physical connection, but the intent wouldn't be for the public to use it until construction was done on site. So it would be for the last phase. We provided a revised traffic analysis that proved that all those lots in the first, basically everything except for these 12 lots could go to Lincoln and not trigger additional mitigation or traffic. So that was that discussion, but it's the intent to use that as a construction access route. We need to bring infrastructure in. We've got to bring the water in. We're going to build the road and do the stream crossing. It's just separating construction vehicles from public while this project gets built out was important to the applicant.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we probably discussed this back in October, so I'm sure you're not surprised that I don't have it all memorized.
Any other thoughts, questions from board members? So before us as well, we have draft findings of fact and conditions of approval. If the board would like to review those and discuss those items. We have draft findings of fact for site plan.
Mr. Chair, would it be possible to initially address the waiver request?
Of course.
I think we've discussed at Sparrow Lane and whether it should be public or private. Looks like we can waive the Technical Design and Construction Standards Manual and to allow Sparrow Lane to be a public way, although the final decision is in the city council's hands. So I think we should at least try to have that be a public street. So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we waive the Technical Design and Construction Manual standards for Sparrow Lane. I think it's standard 1.3.1 with regard to Sparrow Lane.
Thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce. I am just looking, yes, 1.3.1 of the Technical Design Manual. TD. Any additional discussion on the waiver to waive requirement 1.3.1 of the Technical Design Manual? Jeff?
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on that legal review, I guess, but it sounds like we can, and it leaves with the council. I'm a big proponent, as you guys know, that I don't think we should have a nice subdivision go in and then have a private street stuck in the middle of it. It seems counterintuitive to me. I also like to try to eliminate hammerheads, and I was hopeful that maybe the applicant could come and rework that hammerhead in that lot and make some connectivity, and then we're only really worrying about center line spacing from corners. That would have been much more appealing, just from a safety aspect for plowing and waste removal and those trucks not having to turn around and back up. But I would be more supportive not to have a private way tucked in this subdivision, so thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments or thoughts from board members? All right, those in favor of the waiver, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0 for granting the waiver. Thoughts from board members on findings of fact for site plan? Findings of fact, our overview findings of fact. We have these on the board as well to review.
Chair, I also have two proposed changes to these as well. So when we, really just to the conditions of approval. So when we get down there, I'll show you the changes. and explain them.
Understood, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've reviewed the findings of fact, and they seem quite complete, with the exception of, there's a note on Q traffic, and a suggestion that we may want to add more information with regard to that fact. Although, after I reviewed that fact and then I looked at the material that we had regarding traffic, it seemed to me that everything but the italicized words were accurate and fairly stated the traffic situation. So if it's appropriate, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adopt the findings of fact with one modification, and that is on traffic Q, and this would be under the findings of fact under site plan, by eliminating the italicized sentence at the very end of Q. So that's a motion to approve the findings of fact with that modification.
All right, thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce. Any discussion? So Jim, is your motion all-encompassing for findings of fact for, excuse me, hold on one second here, our overview findings of fact, our site plan findings of fact, and our preliminary subdivision findings of fact?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
With the amendment to Q as described within site plan?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions from board members? Questions, items to discuss? So motion made by Jim, second by Joyce. All right, those in favor. Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Motion passes 6-1. And Charles or Lisa, you captured that amendment to Q in site plan. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, with regard to the conditions of approval, I reviewed those as well, of course, and they seem certainly sufficient, given the information that we've been presented by the applicant and with the assistance of our city staff. So I move that we adopt and approve the conditions of approval.
Thank you for the motion. Jim?
Mr. Chair, I hesitate to second because I thought that Charles mentioned that he had updated the conditions of approval from what was in our packet.
Yeah, I just have two very minor changes I was going to make as a point of order.
Sure.
So just
So no, one moment real quick, so no second. Would you withdraw your motion for the time being, so we?
I withdraw the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize, Jim, just two minor things. One is that I changed in the condition approval one, February 3rd to 17th. I thought I caught all the February 3rd references, but that this item was tabled to February 17th. So I just wanted to include that as part of the conditions of approval. And then I was looking through our subdivision ordinance today, And I found a new clause about a required standard, a condition of approval for subdivisions. And we had it shown here, it's this language highlighted in red. So I learned something new today. But I figured I'd share it with the board as well, as it's a requirement for subdivisions as a standard condition of approval. And it just changes that language that I had stripped around that said approval of this proposal is contingent upon full compliance by the applicant with all application materials, approved plans, and any oral commitments made by the applicant to the planning board during its deliberation. And that's replaced with with text from chapter 188 that says approval is dependent upon and limited to the proposals and plans contained in application dated August 8th, 2025, with plans dated December 5th, 2025, and all supporting subsequent documents and or representations submitted and affirmed by the applicant and conditions, if any, imposed by the planning board. Any variation from such plans, proposals, and supporting documents and representations are subject to review and approval by the city planner or the planning board. So that is from our ordinance, section 188-606. While I was just catching up on a few other memos, and figured that this would be a good place to put it in here and make sure that we have the actual language that's required in our ordinance. Sorry for not catching this sooner, but we caught it here today.
Thank you, Charles. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just still trying to, these conditions of approval, I feel like might be missing some of the boat. I mean, are we all on board with the off-site improvements of the sidewalk and what the board deems as a reasonable distance? The Lincoln Street portion on the northeast side by the Kimball Health Center over to Skyline Drive, do we feel like that should be included for the connectivity, for the safety of the kids, the school bus, the walking that's going to take place? This is a very large subdivision, and they're required to put the frontage in on both Bradley and Lincoln on the frontage. That's just a requirement. They're not doing us any additional bonuses, but we also have the need or the request or the ability to request further for safety. And when we look at that condition of approval, Jim, when you read through, it's talking about traffic safety and as well as pedestrian safety. And where does that leave us if we have kids that are going to try to walk over from this development? Hopefully there'll be lots of families, right? And they want to go over to Skyline. We're going to let them just kind of walk in the mud? I think that's kind of something that we need to be thinking about for connectivity in our streets. Mr. Eon's proposing a connectivity option that would be even more sheltered, get them away from traffic. Do we want to be considering, I think it's important that we put a deeded easement in there at the very least, because I'm not a proponent of the buffer being turned over the city, that open space, that non-usable space. If we can't easily put a sidewalk through it, what benefit is that as, true open space? Let them deal with it and get an HOA, because we haven't talked about the entire buffer about the parcel. I think that's a condition of approval. We should say that, we know the Parks and Rec director won't take it, at least I interpreted, he wouldn't take it in lieu of the recreational fee. Why does the city need to have any of that additional burden of liability, maintaining, whatever? Let it be part of the HOA. Do we deed restrict it so they can't cut it? That might be something we should be talking about as a condition of approval. How are we maintaining that buffer? How are we going to cross it if we wanted to have the Applewood connectivity that Mr. Eon has presented, if it's not city? Before the HOA has it, we have a deeded access. I think those are all pieces that we shouldn't just let rush by. It's preliminary. I don't think we should say we're going to spring all this stuff onto you at the final. This is the time that we need to be working out some of those details. So I'm not in favor of pushing too fast, and I apologize because I felt kind of rushed because this wasn't in our packet until today, and it's the reviewing, and we all have a lot going on. But I think it's important that we get together as a board before we make a final approval on these conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other thoughts from board members? Jim?
Well, I certainly understand Jeff's concern there. And I've thought a lot about this too. I really haven't thought about the Applewood connection, to be honest with you, very much, because we've talked about that, I think, I don't know, it seems like the last 3 or 4 months, and nothing's happened. You know, I mean, nothing's been, I mean, that hasn't moved along as an issue, and so I don't know whether or not that's a good access between, you know, Skyline and, or Applewood and this subdivision or not. It looks like it could be, but maybe not. But I don't feel like that should be something that would hold us up in deciding whether or not, if literally everything else that this applicant has done and this proposal has done meets our requirements. I don't know that a hypothetical extra access to this for pedestrians, I don't think we should hold it up for that. Now, you know, a sidewalk going an additional 1,000 feet down to Skyline, would it be nice if it were there? Yes, I think it would. But I think the applicant is doing some sidewalk, I mean, just the sidewalk on the south side of Bradley Street, crossing over to Tasker, I think, is going to be incredibly helpful to everyone in that subdivision. And I think the problems with Skyline Drive, I don't know when that subdivision was created. I don't know what our subdivision standards were at that time. But for that to be approved without sidewalks is just, you know, I don't know that we should put that entire burden of this, the lack of sidewalks in Skyline, or even connecting to Skyline. I don't think we should put that on this developer. I mean, it seems to me that would be something that would make a lot more sense if the city took that on to extend those sidewalks, perhaps as part of whatever reconstruction they're doing on those roads. So I appreciate Charles's change to the, I didn't catch the change in the date on condition number 1, so I appreciate that, Charles. And the change to the other condition, that the standard condition that you included in red, is certainly much more detailed, and I'm glad that it follows our ordinances. So I understand what Jeff's saying. I'm not discounting any of that, but I think that the standards of approval that we have with the changes that were made by our planner are sufficient.
Thank you, Jim. Any other thoughts from board members? I appreciate both of the comments. I think a deeded easement with access to Applewood seems fairly straightforward. I think that doesn't seem like that seems like something reasonable. Just rereading notes from the meeting with the Public Works Director and talking about the sidewalk, we've had conversation about bus stops before and how the board reviews that and how bus stops move from year to year. And while there perhaps has been historically a sidewalk on Skyline that could change at some point in the future, I support sidewalks, of course, as well. I just don't know. I don't think it's a significant distance from Lincoln to Skyline, especially with Public Works not having any funds or plans for sidewalk in any of that area. So that's my hesitation as well. However, we have, as a board, requested sidewalks to begin to extend. That's the start of connectivity is sidewalks. So I guess that's where I'm at right this moment, but to Jeff's point, the easement to Applewood, that seems like a creating that access and that ability seems like an acceptable ask if the board wanted to, but that's my thought on the sidewalk item. Jeff?
I mean, I just kind of reiterate, that as a board, how do we try to meet our goals the community's put with a comprehensive plan and the connectivity and the multi-mode transportation, right? If we only wait until our ordinances are fulfilled where they will only put sidewalks in on the frontage of the lots, we have to wait for all these lots to be redeveloped. I mean, we have to use some approach because the demands on the city for the sidewalks and for the bike paths and for the bike lanes, all of those things, it's unrealistic to think that we're going to maintain any sort of tax base and ask the city to build all this stuff and we keep putting more development in and don't expand. I think that's the role of the critical thinking of a board like this is what is reasonable? What is reasonable of a 900-foot sidewalk when you're adding 96 units? What is reasonable? I would love to be able to have an accurate count, a traffic, detailed traffic count. But I look at it as my hands tied because they're underneath that 99 threshold. We can't really request it, right? So this is just one of those things that, yes, there's a lot of great features about what's within this new development, but what does it do for connectivity to all of our existing infrastructure? I mean, people don't just get in their cars and go to work. It's a walkable area. Where do our kids go? The bus stops are in flux. Applicants said it. Depending on school years and attendance, they move bus stops around. Like you said, I mean, obviously so that's my point.
Thank you. Just to elaborate, or just on my thought as well, just to finish it, I guess in a scenario like this, to ask an applicant to do 50% of the sidewalk connectivity on an existing road adjacent to an existing subdivision without a plan from the city, I think that's the hurdle for me. It's not just another 1,000 feet for a potential site or potential future work. It's only halfway with no commitment to complete that second piece for anything. So I think that's my hurdle. That's my, if there was commitment from the city to finish that in some particular time frame, to be able to provide sidewalk for that Skyline Drive portion, for example, for by the time that this project is completed, I think I would feel differently. So I suppose in that vein, that could be a discussion that we could ask the applicant to have with Public Works as part of a final subdivision review. I don't see why the board couldn't ask that. I don't know. That's sort of my last thought. Chris?
My thought on this is that I think if there was more of a commitment from the city about we have the funds to do more sidewalk expansions, this is on the docket as like an area we want to expand, and we had more of an integrated plan, I think it would make sense to push for the applicant to do their part, where it's a huge distance and it doesn't even seem like the city has the funds, even if they wanted to even meet them halfway. It just seems like a big ask for a maybe this will happen, and as far as my view goes.
Thank you, Chris. Jim, did you have another thought?
No, well, if conditions change between preliminary and final, if we were to grant preliminary approval tonight, if conditions change with, suddenly Applewood is, that becomes more available and things work out there, then that's great. But, or along Lincoln, but if, as of this moment, it doesn't look like anything else is going to happen, so I don't think we should tie up preliminary subdivision approval on those hopes.
Thank you, Jim. Any other thoughts? Jason?
So, two things. I mean, the ordinance says connectivity to existing sidewalks. There's no existing sidewalks in Skyline. So to sit there and say we're going to connect over there, what are we connecting to? We're connecting to a street. We're not connecting to sidewalks. Sidewalks go all the way up to Evergreen, which is way up Skyline. So you're talking, 2,200 feet away to an existing sidewalk. So basically, you're asking me to continue a sidewalk to nothing. Yeah, it's a subdivision, but there's no sidewalks in the subdivision. So, okay, we're going to bring the kids down to a street, and they're just going to walk down the street anyways. So, for one, the ordinance says existing sidewalks. It doesn't say just bring sidewalks to wherever we feel like bringing them to. Okay? Two, affordability. I've gone over this before. Everybody sits back and says, geez, how do we make housing more affordable? Okay, well, I've done the math for you. Okay, now, if I put this in, this is going to put almost $10,000 in each of my home buyers. So I got to raise the cost of my house is another $10,000 for other people to benefit, these sidewalks, for Skyline to benefit. I mean, most of my buyers are going to go to town. They're not going to go out west. They're going to go to town, if they got to walk to Shaw's or if they got to go to Rainey's or whatever, which is why we spent a lot of our time thinking the importance was coming up Route 5, extending that sidewalk down Route 5 without having to cross Route 5, and fixing the intersection at Tasker Street. So if the kids did need to cross, and they're moving to schools, but while the schools are still there, it's a safer area for them to cross. Okay, so extending the sidewalks out west doesn't make any sense. We have connectivity to everything heading east to downtown areas. So we met the ordinance. Cost-wise, it doesn't make sense to be adding $10,000 a house for a Skyline to benefit. If the city pays for this, it's like $60 to $70 a person in the city. So to sit there and say, oh, we're going to put this on taxpayers, oh my God, this huge cost. It's $60, $70 a person, not $10,000 per household. So there's a huge difference. Yes, would it be nice? Absolutely. But this should be a city burden. Skyline was put in those sidewalks. Why is that my fault? Why is that my buyer's fault? Why is that burden put onto them? Okay, the city acknowledges that there's going to be something out there. The other thing is the city wants to do a lot of upgrades in Skyline, drainage and this and that, which can be done simultaneously when they do the sidewalks, which is what they plan on doing in the near future, which I'm more than happy to help them with, but they don't want to have anything to do with the planning board getting involved in all this because they don't want to be stuck with time frames, no different like the Simpson Road project that I've been hearing about and blah, blah, blah. So they don't want to sit there and say, we don't want this linked to a development. We want to do this the way we want to do it without being linked to the planning board. Okay, so this is why they put a hard stop and said, something, we don't have any funds, we don't want nothing to do with this right now. They will, but they don't want it tied together. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the conditions of approval as revised by the city planner.
Thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce. Any additional discussion? Questions, edits? All right, those in favor of the motion to adopt the conditions of approval as presented? Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 6-1.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we grant preliminary subdivision approval, site plan approval, and slaughter approval to the 321 Lincoln Street, project map 52, lot 19.
Thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce, thank you. Any additional discussion on the motion to grant preliminary subdivision and site plan along with SLOTA approval for 321 Lincoln Street, map 52, lot 19? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 6-1. Is
Mr.
that,
Sorry.
real quick. Charles, does that capture everything for this item?
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
thank you. Joyce?
Mr. Chair, could we take a 5-minute break before going on to the next matter, please?
Sure, we'll do a 5-minute recess quickly. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for that short recess. We will continue our agenda this evening. We have, our next item is item 7B, and this is 352 North Street, map 84, lot 02. And this is, our applicant this evening is Northeast Hospitality Holdings LLC. This is a continued application of completeness review and public hearing. Anything to add on this item, Charles?
None at this time. I know that previously we've tabled this twice before because we were waiting on legal review. That's been included in this memo, so if you have any questions about that, happy to answer, provide context.
Great, thank you, sir. Board members, any questions for staff at this time? Any conflicts or disclosures? And Chris and Carrie Lynn, you've caught up on this item? Great, thank you. And with that, we have the applicant with us this evening, if you want to give us an update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Tim Misher, Teradyne Consultants, representing Northeastern Holdings. So I do have an update. So the city's lawyer memorandum was provided to Paul Weinstein, who is the attorney for the applicant. He developed the documents, and those documents ultimately, I don't understand all of it, but they went to the banks and whatnot, and they got recorded. Unfortunately, they were the redlined documents that got recorded and not the official. So the comments that you were seeing in the review memo from the
Tim, can you just make sure you're speaking into the microphone? Sorry.
The comments you're seeing on this, on the city attorney's memo is exactly what didn't get recorded because it was in the final document. So the final document, I brought this to Paul Weinstein's attention, and he found the error, and he was working today to get these to the right people to get re-recorded. So having said that, Paul stated that according to this memo from the city's attorney, neither of these are fatal errors, and it is within the planning board's discretion to determine whether they should be corrected. And if the planning board does determine corrections are warranted, the applicant will need to record an amended declaration. So that is actually in the process of taking place right now. And all I can say to the board is, you know, the attorney is saying they were minor in nature and not fatal errors. But having said that, those items were fixed, are in the process of being recorded. And we were tabled the last time because the attorney hadn't had a review yet, and so we were, you know, more than in agreement that you guys couldn't vote on something if you didn't have legal review. So we understand. So having said that, I don't know where the board wants to go with this now. But that is the update.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions for board members? Jim?
So Tim, there were two different sections, section 2.1 and section 7.3A.
Yes, sir.
The 7.3A, I think, was pretty minor. The 2.1 was, I mean, it didn't, was like not complete. But it sounds like you're telling us that the applicant's attorney is submitting and going to record an amended document which corrects that and clarifies 2.1.
Right, because somehow the wrong documents got recorded between going from the lawyer that developed them to the lawyer that was going to work on recording them. Somehow that process got messed up, so. And then Teradyne was not a part of that, so it's hard for me to speak to you. Want to speak on that? Okay, so Samana, this is Samana, the applicant.
Hi.
Can you pull the microphone down just a little? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sumana. I signed all the documents today, submit to Paul, attested completely. It was too late to record today, but he's going to record it tomorrow since yesterday. we couldn't finish all the recording. We updated everything, what planning board suggested, attorney suggested. It's getting done tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Jim, or?
Yes,
satisfy your
yes,
question?
that's, thank you very much. That's
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts or questions from planning board members?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know that this puts the board in an awkward situation. I completely understand. But going back to the original memo and reading what the lawyer was saying that was in the planning board's capability, and knowing that that has been taking place, that's all I'll say as far as where we stand on this item.
All right, great, thank you. And I misspoke earlier. We did find the application complete on January 6th. For a moment ago, I said we were still doing a completeness review, but I misspoke. Back to the board. Any additional thoughts, comments? I believe we still have the public hearing open. I believe that statement is correct. So if the board would like, we can continue that. Additional questions, thoughts? Jeff?
Yeah, this is a particularly challenging one for me because it's a big legal swap, and I kind of, I guess, rely on some of the other board members that have a little more expertise. Is everything covered in the event that one entity, were to change outside the family hands and not survive, that they can all operate as far as the shared parking? When I looked at that boundary, I'm like, well, they're sharing parking, they're sharing responsibilities. They also have the shared infrastructure with the pump station. And as long as those documents are crafted in a very professional, the way that those entities can survive and not create hardship or block another entity from succeeding is kind of the key thing for me. And like I said, I'm having a hard time following the review on it. And, so, like I said, if you guys are feeling like it's pretty solid and staff feels like that, that's great. I'm never a fan of approving something that's being recorded that our legal team hasn't reviewed, but it seems like they're recording them before we review them anyways. I mean, if we do approve something tonight, we should put a condition of approval that is going back to city solicitor for review before final acceptance, I think would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Only
Any other-
clarification I'll make to that is the documents actually were reviewed, so that actually did take place. The memo to the city is here. So,
Yes, and I saw that.
Right.
But my point is that there was this clerical error of some intern that, messed things up when it was recorded the first time, and we are now going to say, oh, everything was done by the attorney, but I think if it's been recorded, then the city's attorney should review it to make sure that, yes, they get the thumbs up, everything was as intended. So.
And
Jim?
And I think there is a condition of approval number 2, Jeff, does account for that to make sure that the city's attorneys can take another look at everything, and as well as the city planner. So I think we have that sort of fail-safe in there. But I'm comfortable that the condominium documents, they place both the benefits and the responsibilities associated with the approvals on both parcels. For each hotel would have to, the owners of each hotel would have to comply with those provisions. And could there be some fight between them later? Maybe, but no more so than any other condominium that's set up if you have owners fighting with each other. So I'm not troubled by that. I think that legally the documents protect the city and protect each of the condo owners well, as well as requiring them to follow through with all the obligations that are associated with any of the approvals that we've given these lots.
Right, and I
Thank you,
just
Jim.
point out in Grady's, or Trey Malam's memorandum from January 29th, he does say the transfer of Unit 1 from Northeastern Hospitality Holdings to North Street Holdings appears to have been accomplished in a manner such that the transferred property remains subject to the declaration. And the application materials show a proper transfer of development rights from Northeastern Hospitality Holdings to North Street Holdings. So he is, the city's attorney is confirming that the obligations are in place.
Thank you, Joyce.
Mr. Chair, is this also supposed to be a public hearing?
Yes.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Unless Jeff was going to make the motion, I'll move that we reopen the public hearing.
I will second that.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion on opening the public hearing on this item? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. If anyone is with us this evening to speak on this item, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we will collect comments and address them accordingly.
Mr. Chair, seeing no one from the public wishing to speak, I move to close the public hearing.
I would second that motion.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0 to close the public hearing. All right, back to the board. Any final thoughts, questions? Jeff?
Seeing no other comments, I would move that we adopt the draft conditions of approval and findings of fact as dated February 3rd, 2026. Or do we want to make that February 17th?
Yeah, I have a point of order, but he is in the middle of saying his motion. I just have a couple friendly amendments to offer.
Sure, we can potentially hit that in our discussion.
I'll hold off on my motion if you want, or we can continue the motion.
Continue the motion.
Okay. So I move that we adopt the draft findings of fact and conditions of approval, with the only edit changing the date from January 3rd, 2026 to February 17th, 2026.
All right, thank you for the motion, Jeff.
I'll second that.
Second by Jim. Thank you. All right, any discussion? Charles, you had some thoughts.
Yes, I'll just, the finding for B, it's just if you should determine if further information for compliance with the Main Condominium Act is required. But by having that condition, I think you kind of satisfy that as well. So I just wanted to make sure that that language is acceptable. I did put it in italicized, which is usually what I use for you guys to fill in. But in this instance, it kind of serves a purpose as like the condition of approval is a catch-all for that. So that would be my only comment. But I think as it stands, it's fine.
Thank you, sir. Catherine?
A small thing on, under conditions of approval, it just says address, map, lot, and application type. Should that be completed? On page 4. It just looks like it's like filler space.
Yeah, I don't, I have updated that to have this.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, sorry.
Any other thoughts from board members?
Mr. Chair, to address the, since the date is going to be February 17th, so that's helpful, and the change that Catherine pointed out, very helpful, and Charles already made that. With respect to B, I suppose if Jeff were inclined to revise his motion or amend his motion, we could perhaps eliminate the first sentence of B and just leave the second sentence, because that's, as Charles pointed out, our condition of approval addresses that concern.
With that, Mr. Chair, I would amend my motion to include the two changes Jim noted, deletion of the first sentence in B and the addition of the address, map and lot on page 4.
And I'll amend my second.
Great, thank you both. Any additional items to discuss? All right. Those in favor of adopting the findings of fact and conditions of approval as amended? Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we grant the site plan revision for the change of ownership and related documentation to a previously approved site plan to construct a new 130-room hotel in the Business Industrial Zoning District, map 84, lot 2.
I would second that motion.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, those in favor. Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. All right, continuing along this evening, our next item is item 7C. This is 63 Watson Mill Road, map 111, lot 9. And the applicant on this in this application is VCJ Properties. And this is a final subdivision review for 4-lot residential subdivision, an extension of Memory Lane in the Rural Conservation Zoning District. Charles, anything to add on this item?
No, this is just a quick turnaround from the applicant team. The planning board approved the preliminary subdivision and site plan application at the first meeting in January. So that's all. This is just coming back in. I know that I'll just highlight it here that there were no department comments, no third-party comments requested. So we're fairly comfortable with this application as it is in front of us.
Great, thank you. And this is an application of completeness review this evening?
Application completeness review, yes.
Correct. Understood, thank you. Any conflicts or disclosures or on this item before we begin? Questions from board members for staff?
Yes. So its application completeness, was it noticed for a public hearing tonight as well? Or, so we have to stop at completion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be stopping at completion, not in the practice of doing that yet, but maybe that's a future conversation noted. But no, just in front of application completeness for us tonight.
Great, thank you. And we have the applicant with us this evening for an updated presentation.
Good evening. My name is Austin Fagan. I'm with BH2M, representing VCJ Properties LLC. For those of you that may not be familiar with the project, this is an extension, approximately 116-foot extension of an existing private way known as Memory Lane off Watson Mill Road. The project received a staff approval last year, I believe it was, which was for, I think it was approximately 1,200-foot linear foot private way and a 3-lot division, or 3 lots overall, no subdivision. So this extension will allow the applicant to get 2 additional lots over what was originally proposed. Very straightforward, minor amendments to the existing stormwater infrastructure in order to meet the ordinance. We were requesting a waiver on quality treatment just based on a differentiation between what was allowed by the previous city engineer for a linear exception that we previously talked about and the stormwater ordinance. Very straightforward project, but I would be happy to answer any questions the board or staff may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the applicant from board members? Thoughts or concerns?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I've reviewed the checklist. It looks quite complete. I know we spent a fair amount of time reviewing this at preliminary, and so in terms of final subdivision completeness, I think it hits the mark. So when the time's right, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we determine the application complete.
Thank you, Jim.
I would concur, and I will second Jim's motion to find the application complete.
Thank you for the motion, Jim, and the second, Jeff. Any additional discussion on the motion to find the application for final subdivision for 63 Watson Mills Road complete? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. Charles, as far as a date of scheduling this for a public hearing,
So as much as I want to do, the soonest we could do would be March 17th, just because we would have to send out notices today for the March 3rd meeting. So any other month, we would be able to do the next or the first March meeting, but because it's February, we can't. So March 17th is the next we can notice for.
all right, thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we schedule a public hearing in this matter for March 17th.
Thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce, thank you. Any additional discussion on the motion to schedule a public hearing for this item on March 17th? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all for your time.
Great, thank you, sir.
Chair, would you like me to prepare findings for that meeting as well?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, continuing with our agenda this evening, we have our next item is 7D. This is 83 Jenkins Road, map 89, lots 32 and 32-1. This is presented by Blueberry Realty LLC, and this is a preliminary subdivision and site plan for an 8-lot residential subdivision in the West Residential Zoning District. Charles, any additional items or updates for this application?
I have a few. So we had continued the application completeness review back on January 6th to today. The applicant had an original application included, I think it was a 12-lot subdivision, but had plans to change it. So we continued the application completeness so we could review the full new resubmission. We have sent these out to staff comments, so we have public works comments, but we also sent it out to our hydrogeologic peer review, lighting peer reviewers, wetland and wildlife. So those have been included. And in the after the fact packet, I think there's a landscape comments as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those came in today. The second piece is the Conservation Commission did their advisory review for this application on January 21st. So the applicant was present for that. And I just wanted to note that we're working with the Conservation Commission to, to finalize their process for advisory reviews. So right now, this Conservation Commission advisory report that I provided to you is a draft. So they're going to review it at their next meeting, which is tomorrow, just to confirm, but I figured I'd provide it to you in a draft form because the chart, I don't think it will change much, but we just wanted to send it to the Conservation Commission. And it's a good example of what the direction we're taking those advisory reviews. So just note that. Those are the only comments I have on this application right now.
Great, thank you, sir. Board members, any questions for staff? Any conflicts or disclosures? All right, we have the applicant with us this evening to give us an update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Tim Mishu with Teradyne Consultants, speaking on behalf of Blueberry Realty. So, yeah, the results of that Conservation Commission was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like we always say when applicants do things wrong, we need to say when they do things right. They were very happy with our plan as far as the buffers we were providing around Goose Fair Brook. So that was nice to hear. So basically what happened was when we got PWD comments back on the 12-lot subdivision design, the applicant informed Teradyne that she wanted townhomes instead of single-family residence. And based on the review comments from PWD, which basically included under drainage, basically with the under drainage in the public road, we weren't using catch basins at the time. So we had nowhere to outlet those. So that basically forced us into a redesign is what happened. So we changed our stormwater, put our package back together, and we resubmitted. And in that time, we have comments back from PWD that are generally minor in nature. And now, as Charles said, we're getting comments back from the peer reviews. Hydrogeologic has been approved. Landscaping is minor in nature. The Normando for wetlands was a little more tricky. Longview Partners LLC did the wetlands for this project, and they were told to look, even though the review was happened during a snowpack, they should review their wetland boundaries in an area. So I'm not a wetland scientist, so I'll let that one be. But so that will take place in the spring. And then there were comments from, Normando pointed out from my communications with IF and W about the setback and IPAC, and so I have revised that and got positive results from that. And there was a discussion that Longview Partners is going to, there's a discussion on when the setback from a wetland ends or if it's from the stream, is the comment from Normando. And so Longview, we looked at it and we reviewed definitions of emergent wetlands, wetlands within floodplains, and determined the setback is not off Goose Fair Brook itself, but it's off wetlands that are in the low area. And so we have readjusted that. It only didn't affect our stormwater, didn't affect our site plan too much, but we do have to move things over a little bit to get out of the 100-year setback, the new one. So we will be adjusting that to meet that requirement. Letters have been set back for final approval to Maine IF and W to resolve those items. Longview Partners, when the snowpack is gone, will be relooking at the what Norman Doe had asked them to look at. It's basically that low area we all remember down in the site where those 3 vernal pools are. So they're asking them to kind of look at that because, again, Longview said, well, this is a log site, it's all been torn up, and some of this doesn't even apply anymore. But that's for the environmentalists to fight over. So having said that, we're here today looking for preliminary plan approval. Just a few items going through the application we resubmitted, 12 lots to 8 lot townhomes. E1 systems has been reviewed. I know we had a discussion about that in the field. Our design, I'm not sure if that gets, the E1 design was submitted part of our package, and I'm wondering if, Charles, if that goes to the wastewater department or if I have to initiate that.
For what, sorry?
My wastewater, my sewer design.
Yeah, we'll need to, city engineer and WRD would need to review that.
So that's under review. I have not got comments from that. Lotus Lane continues to remain the same. The culvert remains the same. The town engineer had wanted some breakout on costs, which I do have, and will be submitting. So nothing really had changed there. And so we've all, I assume everyone's reviewed PFW's comments. So we are here tonight without draft HOA documents, which is a requirement of the preliminary plan. And we are here tonight without a revised financial capacity letter, which was required as part of the preliminary plan. So the question I'm asking to the board is whether this can be approved with conditions or if this gets tabled. Going through PWD's comments, which again, the first letter I had from them was like 8 pages, and a lot of this has to do with note 30 should be note 26, things like that. There is a comment on the planning board should review what's going on with the sidewalk in front of Jenkins Road. We have provided a design, as I discussed the last time I was here, where we provide tip downs and tie in to that existing paved sidewalk that is flush with the existing grades out on Jenkins Road. Now, any improvements to those sidewalks out there will be pretty hard because you got to remember stormwater is actually flowing over those sidewalks. So you wouldn't want to make a dam situation, so you have to be careful. Further discussions on easements. So PWD was correct. Some of our easements, like whether it goes to the city of Saco or whether it's to the HOA, they were correct. So we did in the process of fixing some of those. So again, minor in nature. Talking about the 75-foot setback, so I've worked on that with IF&W and vernal pool mapping peer review, so that's part of the Norman Doe Associates taken care of. And other than that, I've got, again, minor comments in nature. Photometrics plans being revised. There was a good comment on sidewalk transitions where we bump in close to the curb line from being away from the curb line when we're crossing over Goose Fair Brook. Basically, the comment there is, do those need to be ADA ramps is what the comment really means. So we have to look at that. And other than that, No real comments on stormwater, with the comment to just resubmit the stormwater directly to PWD. So those comments are minor in nature. So without taking too much time, the packet that you have, I believe, generally revolves around PWD's comments, and everything was submitted. If you remember, the package was quite complete at the time, and there was a letter of credit. But now, with the redesign, adding the closed drainage system, meaning catch basins and stuff like that, it changed my cost estimate. And now PWD wants a breakout of the culvert, so there could be some more costs. So there will be a financial guarantee needs to be revised. That's what I'm here tonight to tell you, and that is in the works right now. And homeowner association documents are in the works with Paul Weinstein at the time. But we did not meet the deadline to submit them. And then I do note that the HOA documents were draft only to be for this submission. But having said all that, I would like to open it up to comment, if the board has any comments.
Thank you, sir. Questions from board members? Jim?
So Tim,
Yes, sir.
I was trying to understand the difference in the cost. So does the letter of credit need to be increased by, what, a couple 100,000, 400,000?
Two.
200,000?
Yes, sir.
Do you anticipate any problem accomplishing that?
No. The applicant is actually in the process of doing that right now. And it had to do basically, so again, with the closed drainage system, and then when I went back to the culvert supplier, because PWD wants more of a breakout, as I said, they want to review the culvert design during the permit process. Fine. So I went back to culvert and I got a deeper breakdown of cost. And so basically getting that breakdown, they added more things to it.
Yeah.
So that increased too. So overall, we're talking like 200. So that's where we are with that.
Well, my view is, yes, that letter needs to be increased. In this sort of project, a couple $100,000 increase in a letter of credit shouldn't be a huge issue. And the other two items that you need to obtain, with the HOA documents,
Yep.
you're going to address all that.
Yeah, Paul was working on the drafting.
So it looks to me like for application completeness purposes, that the application is complete. I mean, I'm going to have some questions for you later on, Tim, about.
Of course, sir.
About that E1 system.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I still don't understand that E1 system terribly well and what happens when the power
Well-
goes out, but that's for another
Well,
night.
hopefully when we get Howard's comments back, then
Yeah,
we can have a discussion about Howard's comments, and we should be in a much better spot.
But that's for another night. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Jim. Any other thoughts from board members, questions? Charles, real quick, you have design, where did it go here? You have the design analysis as not applicable.
Correct.
Is that, how come that's not applicable?
In which section, sorry?
In your checklist, it's on
Last item.
one of the last items, yeah. Page 3,
Oh,
maybe?
design analysis, yeah, let me double check real quick
'Cause
with the,
Doesn't meet the definition of that section 507 or whatever it was.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. 3, design guideline.
We've also, I guess building coverage and structure, I thought, that says not applicable, but I think the applicant provided it anyway, but That was, I just wanted to,
That's applicable,
yeah, I wanted to verify the design analysis component, but,
less than 25%.
well, you show them on your site plan.
Right.
So that's,
So
for application completeness, I see that
I was here
counts,
for
but.
the TA athletic facility, and that design analysis section was a big hang-up that cost us several meetings. So I just don't think it pertains to the residential subdivision as well.
Yeah, my understanding that the building permits would be under separate and that this is more focused on that. My interpretation was that the building designs were not part of the application. And my reading of that standard or that submission requirement, that the characteristics of neighboring properties, the adjacent neighborhood, and how the proposed development meets standards, plans, building elevations, visual simulations, and a narrative document conforms with the standards. My interpretation of that standard is that it's not, part of the application because the building permits would be coming under a separate note. But
Is that under 179? Is that the section you're reading on under?
yeah, 403, I believe.
That's its own section.
Yes.
Because
You're looking at 179, 404.03. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in the proposed 403 proposed development plan, item O, a design analysis that demonstrates conformity with the design standard.
So does that supersedes 179, 501? I guess I was looking at 501.
I'm looking, yeah, I'm in 503 for looking at the
Sure.
specific guidelines. I think it's more focused on like the physical structures. But again, I'm happy for your interpretation. I'll defer to the planning board on this.
I think we've seen them before.
Why?
That's why I'm asking. That being said, before we take Jeff's comments, because now I've hijacked it, but I do agree with Jim's opinion. I think that we do need to see revised HOA documents or HOA documents, period, and revised financial capacity. But I think overall for application of completeness and getting to hear from the public, I think the application is been provided satisfactorily, and I would like to see building elevations. I think on similar projects we've been receiving them, but it's just my
So
thought.
since this is a proposed townhomes, we can submit the representative townhome cut sheets that are planned on being used.
Yeah, I think we've
With the next submission.
typically seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, Jeff, any thoughts? I think I interrupted your thought.
I think you touched on most of them. I, agree they did provide information. I was surprised that our peer review didn't catch that they weren't the right fixtures being used or the right poles for the photometric plans. I did have a question, though. Can we get confirmation if this subdivision is within 1,500 feet of the existing public water supply? I know we're reviewing it. There's a peer review or the hydrogeological assessment for water supply for domestic use. Just kind of looking at the site plan, it looks like it's pretty close to the existing water, and I don't want to miss our requirement of the 1,500-foot shall extend. Was a previous member of the board who was very concerned about the aquifer in that area, and boy, with the amount of development that's going on, we should try to be mindful of that.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other thoughts from board members? So, Tim, Catherine, go.
Hi. This has been a conversation already tonight about the waiver. But Public Works does mention here we should discuss with the fire department about whether waivers are a concern for the maximum dead-end road length. So is this part of like just the broader comment we need to have, or is it a discussion specifically on this one we need?
Sure,
input?
yeah. And as part of our previous discussion on this application, we did have the conversation about the waiver for the road length and force main within the right-of-way. Is that, but that's modified a little
Force
bit.
main's gone. That was part
Right.
of the revised. That was
Yeah.
one of the, closed drainage system in the force main was generally forced the redesign that we did. So I think these comments, Adam, obviously they're made for me to address, they're for your knowledge. So I think it puts the onus on me to engage with the fire department and make
Okay.
sure I get a review of this.
Yeah, because it is one of
road
those
design.
reoccurring themes that have come up tonight as well. Because this is, I think, the third project tonight requiring that waiver.
Third, my project.
We didn't want to say it like
I'm not,
that, Tim.
I'm not pointing fingers, it's just, it keeps coming up, yeah.
It does keep coming up. I knew when we were having the first conversation, I'm like, oh, I got two more.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, I think, so Adams, PWD wants me to engage with the fire department and make sure they're okay with the, now, I will point out to him that the homes will be sprinklered. And interestingly enough, because I know we all want to be a hydrogeologist, the Haley Ward report came back that Mark Sensei actually underestimated because he didn't take into account the large preservation that's out behind basically Jenkins Road that resupplies the aquifer. Just so we know. It's good information to have.
Tim, the road length on this one, again, is,
I think I should have it right here. 1176.
1176, all right, I thought I saw.
And this one seems, I mean, pretty obvious. I mean, if you're not getting across Goose Fair Brook, and as we all, now that we've all seen the bank, there would be no reason to even go across Goose Fair Brook if you were down to 100 feet, 1,000 feet. You wouldn't be able to recoup any cost.
Any other thoughts from board members? Jeff?
I feel like I missed something. So Tim, can you clarify the wastewater disposal?
Yep.
They were doing a combination synchronous forced main out to, they were going to be the last connection.
Yes.
Has that changed now? We're doing private septics with E1 enhanced private on-site disposal?
You're talking the same thing.
Well, E1 has two systems, I believe. They've got like a pre-treatment to lower the nitrate levels, but you still have an on-site leaching field. And then you have the pumping system, which has a private force main, which is going to go out and enter the city sewer system.
Every townhome is connected to the 2-inch force main.
Okay.
They all work, their pumps all work together to deliver flow to behind the existing terminus manhole behind Lot 1. And that flows by gravity out to Jenkins Road.
Correct. So we're still doing the directional bore under the brook, and, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Howard's going to be reviewing that, and, Howard's has not wavered on that this is the last one going into that pump station.
Thank you.
There's just no more capacity. And it's, for this project, it's $33 a gallon for impact fee, which he's always warned me about.
Tim, that system design, is it one force main coming out of,
It is, there's no wet well.
right, but it's one out of the structure or one per unit?
One per unit.
One per unit, so it's an individual out
Right.
from each unit
They
into
all
that force
connect.
main.
They're fused. I've seen the installation. It's pretty neat, actually. They're fused. There's a, basically a curb stop, and it's fused connection, backflow assembly. There's a backflow assembly, so wastewater can't go back into the building. You can only go one way. And then that water gets to that 2-inch central force main, and all those pump stations keep working together to drive flow towards the terminus manhole behind Lot 1.
Okay. So there's one location to the lot.
Yep.
And then from that one location, it goes to two
Correct.
services.
Correct.
Okay.
And with backflow preventers for each. And curb stops.
Okay, great, thank you.
So it's generally like a water systems. You know, curb stop and backflow preventers out to the main line.
Okay.
Under pressure.
Under pressure.
Under pressure.
Forcible pressure.
So otherwise, the design really hasn't changed from what we resubmitted prior to. If anything, it was cleaned up. Again, the Conservation Commission really liked what we were doing around Goose Fair Brook. The main IFW and Normando Associates forced us to get back in there and rework what those wetlands are, because there's definitions on where the setback is from a wetland or it's from the stream. And it has to do with floodplains, but there's no emergent vegetation here. This is not within the 100-year flood zone, so the rules are different. We kind of confirmed with the DEP as well. So we reset that setback. The major comment for us from a design perspective is having the 2 stormwater ponds in lots. If you notice, PWD didn't want those maintenance drives in open space and to be out of the setback, so we do have a little bit of re-engineering to do on that aspect of things, which will be with the final design. And then PWD just said when you revise, he had a couple comments on the modeling to just submit back to him.
Okay. All right, board members, any additional thoughts on application completeness? Chris?
I would like to file a motion to extend the meeting past 9 o'clock.
Sure. Thank you for the motion. Chris, any additional discussion? Getting a little early on it today. This is good. I like it. Sorry. Motion made by Chris.
I'll second his motion.
Second by Jim. Thank you. Any additional discussion to extend the motion, extend the meeting beyond our 9 o'clock cutoff to a particular hard stop time in mind?
I mean, I don't have a particular time myself. I'm already here, so I could go till I fall asleep pretty much.
Be careful. All right, looking at our agenda, I think we can handle, we'll extend beyond 9 o'clock to complete our agenda this evening. All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. All
Mr.
right.
Chair, I'll follow that up with a motion to determine the application complete.
Thank you for the motion, Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Joyce, thank you. Any additional discussion on finding the application complete for 83 Jenkins Road?
Chair, may I make a point of order real quick also? Lisa informed me that we had also scheduled this for a public hearing tonight as well. So I confirmed that notices were sent out, so there's no need to schedule a public hearing as part of this motion. as
Yes.
that is tonight.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion on this motion? All right, those in favor of finding the application complete? Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
A vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. So back to the board. If we'd like any additional thoughts, questions, I think we mentioned getting the HOA, documents, updated financial capacity, and cost estimates, responding to comments from peer reviewers, few revisions, architectural design drawings. And with that, as Charles has reminded us, we do have this scheduled for public hearing this evening when the board's ready.
I move that we open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you for the motion, Jeff, and the second, Carrie Lynn. Any additional discussion on opening the public hearing? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
A vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0 to open the public hearing. If anyone is with us this evening that would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and we will collect comments and address them accordingly.
Frank Freeman, live at 90 Jenkins Road, which is across the street from the new development. I was just concerned about the sidewalk, and maybe you guys have already covered this. I heard talk about the sidewalk, just that it has no curb from, I think, where the bridge is, and then past the bridge a little bit, and then back going down to Quarry Drive. There's no curb, so you're even with the road, and there's about this much space when you're walking along the sidewalk, and the cars are going by very fast, faster than 40 miles an hour. So I don't know how that ties in with this. I don't know if the developer does that kind of thing, or it's on the city, but I would just wanted to put my 2 cents in about that sidewalk. So that's it.
Great, thank you, sir.
I'm Frank's wife, Stefano Ormantis, 90 Jenkins Road, across the street. And my only comment on this is has to do with the water. And we've seen, having lived there for 20 plus years, there's been so much development down, and I am concerned about the water table there. We're on well water there, and I'm not sure what the addition of this, as well as some of the other developments we've seen, talked about tonight, what that does for the overall water capacity in the area, and what the aquifer there, the impact there is along that. So I'd like some consideration of that along a global piece. And this may not be the appropriate area, but also just in general terms from the planning committee, I'd like some consideration. We've had so much development on Jenkins Road, and there really is, I know the Parks and Rec are overloaded, but there's really there's no park, there's no green space for the general community, where there's been a ton of new families that have moved in, and not having any green space, any general play space, walking trails, anything along that line, just is really disappointing with all the resources and all the revenue that's gone in for this new development. So I just throw those points out and appreciate the consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Norma Grenier. I'm representing myself and my husband, Russell Grenier. We actually live in the 81 rear Jenkins Road lot, and we also own the 81 Jenkins home, which is a rental, and our son and family lives there. New projects impending on Jenkins Road within the last 2 years. From what I read, I'm coming up with about 74 pending residences if all of these pending ones get approved. Are there limits as to how many new homes can be built on one road within a certain time frame? There should be. There are too many houses and cars here already. How much higher is the ground level for 83 behind the Goose Fair Brook area compared to us at 81 rear Jenkins Road and the existing homes? Water runoff seems to be a problem. When I go out in my driveway and I look out across where this development's going to be, it looks like after the property goes over Goose Fair Brook, it goes way up. And I don't know if the houses are going to be up that high or what. I was out of state for the site walk, so I couldn't attend that. But the huge bridge to be constructed right next to us for us to look at every day. What will it look like for us? What are the railings? What are they made of? This new road, Lotus Lane, is closer to us than what was mentioned to me by the owners when the project was first originally in the beginning stages and their ideas. If it is discussed to plant trees to avoid our view from seeing the bridge, we do not want any trees planted any closer to us than the trees that are existing there now. We had to spend over $2,000 to cut trees down that were encroaching on our property and our house in November of '24. The trees that were cut down with owner's permission was on 83 Jenkins property. Flood zone due to another bridge in close proximity to us. Several years ago, there was a bad flood that washed away some of the bridge on Jenkins Road, which is about 3 houses away from us. The water rose up from the Goose Fair Brook into our backyard. How will this new bridge, almost in our backyard now, not block water flow? 14 new wells next to us. What does that do to our water supply and pressure? More electricity to draw from our supplier. How does that affect everyone on Jenkins Road for all of these new developments? Will there be fire hydrants for this development and all of the Jenkins Road in the area of the new developments? And will the fire hydrants have enough water pressure because of all of these new houses being built? The new sewer lines to Jenkins Road. At the last planning board meeting that I listened to in January, it was suggested that the plan for the sewer lines was to be drilled under Goose Fair Brook. What happens if there's a leak? How do you get into it to fix it? What about our protected Goose Fair Brook water? Bad idea. Just because 83 Jenkins project would be the last manhole on Jenkins Road to connect into the sewer system isn't a good enough reason to squeeze in another development. Speed limit on Jenkins Road. It's too high for all the new houses being built. Children's safety need to be thought about and marked crossings for everyone. Jenkins Road has a lot of walkers, especially in warmer weather. Jenkins Road is used as a racetrack in the summer. And as far as the children on Jenkins Road, it's the school buses. My son and daughter-in-law live right in front of us, and my granddaughter has to catch the bus for her first year at Thornton Academy. And she just mentioned to me a week ago that my granddaughter has been late to school because the school buses can't get from where we are at 81 to get down to the end of Jenkins Road to go through the 3 new lights to get to Thornton Academy. She's been late to school several times because of so much traffic. My husband's family and the 2 of us have lived on Jenkins Road since 1961. No more county road. Too much traffic that uses Jenkins Road as a throughway to get to Route 1 and back roads to Scarborough via Heath Road. What about all the wetlands during construction? How are they protected? And the existing plants and animals. We are concerned about cutting more trees down for all the birds to vacate the area, and the turnpike noise will increase. All of the animals that have lived there for many, many years that we have enjoyed seeing in our back and front yard will be gone for many years. Hopefully, we'll see them again someday. Deer, fox, turkeys, moose, etc. A big variety of birds will be gone. Hawks, eagles, bats, owls, and also hummingbirds that return each year that we feed. We need to protect the animals and everything living in Goose Fair Brook and that drink from the brook. How long, if approved, will Goose Fair Brook Estate take to build and be 100% completed for no more construction vehicles and noise and dirt and dust every day? We are hoping that all the wildlife will return to us. Property taxes. With all the houses being built on Jenkins Road, it's increasing all of the property taxes bills, as well as insurance coverages to keep up with the home values. All of the people that lived here for many, many years, a lot of retired seniors, including us, are tired of higher tax bills and insurance premiums. There should be more done for long-time existing property owners and senior citizens. Thank you for listening to all of our concerns. We prefer that this development not be approved for all of the reasons and concerns I have stated tonight. And I also want to say, because of the owners at 83 Jenkins Road project are our current next-door neighbors living right next to us, this process and our open opinions makes this uncomfortable situation for me. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, seeing no other members of the public choosing to speak at this time, I move that we continue the public hearing to, do we have a date from staff that we can?
I would recommend April 7th.
That we can,
Yeah.
that we continue the public hearing till April 7th, and also ask staff to have DPW weigh in on the distance from the existing water service, public water service, as well as possibly an opinion on the sidewalk that fronts this proposed subdivision, if any modifications can be made due to drainage and curbing. That, so I think there was issues in the past there. If they could just give us a little bit of a feedback, if there's any suggested modifications. That's all.
I'll second.
Thank you for the motion, Jeff. In the second, Carrie Lynn. Any additional discussion on the motion to continue public hearing and request that staff speak with Department of Public Works regarding water service to the site, its distance from the site, and considerations on the particular sidewalk along the frontage of this site? Capture that? All right, those in favor. Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. All right, so we received a few comments from some neighbors. A few of them I think we can address here and get some verification with the applicant. One of them was the sidewalks, and as Jeff had mentioned, we'll look for staff to get some input from Department of Public Works on that. I know the applicant had explained briefly as to how that sidewalk, how its current condition is, but maybe some additional information from DPW on that and how water sheds across it. And
I
any,
think right now it's just the water flows along the gutter line. It's like between the grass and the pavement.
sure.
Then a couple feet off is a 4-foot paved sidewalk flush. I think that's the current situation that's going
Yeah.
on there.
We received a question on water, in with Jeff's comment. We'll get some more information on that. A few other questions might be for staff to help answer. One of which is any limit to a number of homes being built on a particular road. I don't believe we have that in our ordinance in Saco, but perhaps Charles could inquire about that. There's a question on stormwater, buffering, flooding, some water again, power, fire hydrants, sewer, traffic. I think some of these, Tim, I'm sure you're making notes of that we can maybe elaborate on once we respond back to all of Department of Public Works, and maybe some landscape comments as well. Construction schedule estimation. A few of them, and maybe staff, you could pass them along to Traffic Safety Committee, was a comment on speed limit along that road.
The application would provide site distances and a peak hour, calculation on peak hour rates.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking overall holistically, sort of seeing if staff could pass along neighbor concerns on the overall speed limit of the road. I think that if board members have any other items that I may have missed on some of the public comment, I think that captures it. I think there's a question on fire hydrants, and I think our answer or discussion on water service to that area is going to answer that. But we have sprinklers currently required for those properties. And wells. And
a hydrogeologic report, peer review that just came back saying basically how healthy that aquifer in that area is.
Okay.
So there has been some understanding that abutters' concerns, items like trying to preserve the tree lines along. It's imperative that we have a 100-foot no disturb buffer along Goose Fair Brook, right? So we're not cutting any trees going through there, just where the new road's going. So preservation is key. We've got stormwater buffers throughout the project. We've got 3 times more open space than is required. Perimeter buffers, so, there is a thoughtful process.
Understood. And I think there's, I'll bring up my other thought later in the evening, but any other, Jeff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think one additional item on your list, or if we could add it, there was a request, and I think it's a meaningful request, for the contact bridge structure. If we could get some either existing installations as to what the coloring and texture of the side profile. I mean, I see, obviously the physical shape of it in the submittal packet, but I don't know if it's just precast concrete and it's just going to look like a precast structure from the side, or if there's some stucco detail that goes on to that, or what it will actually look like, especially if there are people that have views from a side profile, not just traversing over the top of it.
Yep.
And then with that, thank you, any guardrail profile or style to that.
I wonder if I had from Contact, if I had a more detailed submission that I might have shortened for the submission to provide more design information instead of the aesthetics.
Yeah, I think the drawings are good, they're clear. I think we just
They're like nice color pictures. I don't remember.
I don't see any graphics, but I think that would of course help immensely. Pictures worth 1,000 words.
I can probably get that.
Great. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? Direction for the applicant? Jim?
Well, since we're talking about things that you could come back to us with, Tim, my confusion about this E1 system and what happens when the power goes out. I noticed in the materials, for each one of these pumps, there's a plug that you could plug a generator in so that the pump could keep working.
You're correct.
Right, so I did see that, but my question is, So how many homes out there would have to have one of these generators so that the whole system would continue to run? Just one home? Do you need half of the homes need generators? Should that be a condition of approval?
Since this is like the third time you've asked me this, I'm going to find out the answer to you.
Well,
But no, it's a very, I don't have the answer, so I need to find out myself.
I just don't understand enough about those systems, and I'm trying to understand, so. But it just seems to me, I mean, I have a generator in my house, I have to
I do too.
pump, from a well, I also pump the sewage to a separate area, and so if you have no power, you can't, live in your house very well. So we certainly don't want these people to be in a situation where they can't function in their house.
Or if 4 people have a generator and 4 don't.
Well, right.
Does
so,
the system still work?
Right. Do you need half the houses to have generators? I don't know. But if you could help us with that, Tim, that
No,
would
you've got me curious as well.
Yeah, I guess if I could elaborate on that too, especially depending on how much head is on from the furthest house from the discharge, if houses 1 through 4 can discharge with the single pump running, it's kind of amazing to have that much head out of a single pump. So if you could get some feedback, because more than likely if they're all on wells, it doesn't really matter if they don't have power because they don't have a water supply either, so they're not going to back up, right? But if your neighbor has one and you start wondering about check valves failing, or the furthest house in the subdivision has a generator, but for some reason in the system design it can't overcome the whole head, then you've got backup when power is restored or in the meantime. So it would be interesting to have a system analysis.
Right, because every service line has a backflow preventer on it. So, yeah, what happens?
Well, theoretically, the backflow preventers, if they're working correct, will prevent any backflow. And it almost looks like every single pump has the ability to pump the whole head of the line, so it's just discharging. And they're not interdependent on the other houses, which...
And you know what, I'm sure with the E1 folks, this is probably I'm sure I could probably get a cut sheet from them with,
Sure.
standard
Should be
answers.
they should know.
We can't be the first ones.
Yeah, I would say this probably isn't the first time they've run into this issue.
Yeah, we're probably not the first one to crack the code.
Sure. And then additionally, of course, if generators are going to be proposed, then their location and sound attenuation values to property lines.
Yep.
So don't forget that if we need to show them. So any other thoughts from board members? All right, so I guess with that, we made a motion and continued public hearing till April 7th, so it looks like that date, Charles, would still be appropriate if the board found it to continue application review to that date as well, correct? Yep, he says yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we continue application review of the 83 Jenkins Road project to April 7th.
I think that motion was already been made and seconded by Carrie Lynn. We just haven't voted on it yet.
Sorry.
Well, that's good. I have in my notes that you made a motion, Carrie Lynn seconded, to continue public hearing to April 7th. And we asked staff to check on water sidewalk consideration. We did vote on that to continue the public hearing, but not application review, unless it was your intent to capture. I didn't have that captured within the motion.
No, my apologies. We started early tonight, so I'm tired now.
So motion by Jim to continue application review to April 7th.
I will second that motion.
All right. April 7th, not 17th.
So can I just ask, if we're talking application review, so I'd be looking to try and submit a final application submission package. Is that what we're talking about, Charles?
No, so this is just continuing the public hearing and application review for the preliminary and site plan application.
So answer PW questions and requirements.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll reach out to you about when we would need the submission, what the deadline is for that planning board meeting.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion with where the application sits and questions from third-party reviewers and staff? Is the board looking to ask staff to draft findings of fact and conditions of approval for April 7th? It seems we were February 17th, April 7th. It seems like quite a bit of time for staff to work with the applicant to at least provide drafts for the board, and we can go from there if the board would like to. Thoughts, a couple yeses? Yeses. All right, if staff could do that in that time frame as well, and we can, we'll pick up and continue review of the application at that time and see where it goes. All right. Additional discussion? All right, those in favor, Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Carrie Lynn?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. All right, great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, members of the board.
It is, but we continued the application review, so the applicant will be back on April 7th. And any other thoughts or questions, you can, if you submit them to Charles or planning staff, they can include it and they can send it to everybody. And there's, the application we will review again and reopen the public hearing again. So there is another opportunity to provide more comments as well, of course. This wasn't the only opportunity. Can you come up to the podium?
Next to them on 83, like we're 80, 81, we have an E1 pumping system from our house that goes out to Jenkins Road.
Sure.
And I just wanted to comment about when there's power outages. For example, there was one time that we couldn't get our generator going, and I guess it depends on, you know, if you hook up your generators to run your whole house, or if it's only for specific areas in your house, like your living room or, you know, your bathrooms, or just to have a few lights. We have an alarm that's in our basement, and if we have it set up so that we can still have our water and we pump, but for some reason there's no power out at the grinder pump, which is this sewer thing that's in the front yard, we have an alarm that goes off to let us know. And one time, when my father-in-law was still living, he didn't know what the alarm was, and we kept flushing the toilet, and it backed up into our basement really bad. So I just wanted to make a comment, because we have one of these systems. We've had it for 19 years, and we one time had to have some maintenance done, but you know, it's lasted us a long time. But I just wanted to mention about for power failures, that people need to be careful, because if you don't have power, and for some reason if people have their water pumps hooked up and they keep flushing their toilets and it's not pumping, then it can back up into their houses, because it happened to us. So I just wanted to mention that.
All right, thank you. So, Charles, just to recapture our SOP, we continued our meeting beyond our 9 o'clock, but as a reminder, per our SOP, we cannot take up any more items. Our remaining items on the agenda this evening was for a 986 Portland Road, which had a requested table to our previous meeting anyway, so there's no action to be held on that item anyway.
It was just, I figured, just the applications on deck. When we added that third meeting, we had noticed it for this meeting. So just we're tabling it no matter what.
Sure. And then a few of our other items here are general correspondences, planning department updates, planning board comments. all items that we can address at our next meeting?
Yeah, I just have one quick, there's no general correspondence. Just on we were going to be reviewing the SOP in February. After discussing with Emily and the chair, we're just going to hold off, take a little bit more time, be a little bit more thoughtful with some of our SOP changes, and make sure we get legal review. And I'm doing a little bit more research about peer communities, best practices, and providing those recommendations to you guys based on our previous conversation, making sure we're doing something right. So that hasn't been removed from, I mean, it has been removed, but it's just work behind the scenes.
All right, great, thank you. Any final thoughts from board members before we adjourn? All right, well, thank you everyone again for staying a few minutes late. Appreciate full board here tonight. This was fun. And we'll see everyone next week as a reminder for our special meeting. So with that, that is a 6 o'clock start still. Yep. And with that, we will adjourn at 9:23 p.m. Thank you.